Chapter 1225. Calamity Sword. This was the peerless divine weapon that all swordsmen in the heavens dreamed of. It was the number one divine item. Gu Duxing's body trembled. His gaze was focused on the tip of the sword. It was as if he could see that the tip of the sword, which was as cool as water, emitted an aura that was as sharp as his. This aura made Gu Duxing tremble with excitement. Calamity Sword was also the number one killing weapon. It was also the source of all disasters. But in the end, all disputes and disasters still had to be ended by this sword. Mo Tianji's gaze was bright as he looked at Calamity Sword. His expression was solemn. Mo Tianji rarely had such an expression. Usually, he was confident that he had the world in his hands. But today, his expression was incomparably solemn and respectful. Because Mo Tianji knew that once this sword appeared, his position would be fixed. From this moment onwards, there would be countless experts who would die under his schemes. But if he did not plan well, he and all his brothers would die without a burial ground. The master of Calamity Sword would turn the world upside down. When Calamity Sword appeared, wisdom would lead the way. This was the legend of Calamity Sword. When Calamity Sword truly appeared, it was also the moment when the master of Calamity Sword officially appeared. It also meant that the great cause of overturning the heavens had officially begun. They would officially start a war with the great clan that had ruled the upper three heavens for 10,000 years. From today onwards there would be no retreat. There would only be two outcomes. The first outcome was that the master of Calamity Sword would lead his brothers to overturn the heavens. The second outcome was that they would die and their clans would be wiped out, beyond redemption. Mo Tianji looked at the sword. The Calamity Sword flashed coldly. It seemed to be blinking and looking at him. Mo Tianji looked at the empty sword hilt. He suddenly felt as if he was holding a sword. Not a sword, but he really wanted to fill it in. Suddenly, he felt a heavy sense of responsibility and mission. Is this my destiny? Ao Xian suddenly felt the blood in his body burning. He stared at Calamity Sword. His breathing was heavy. His gaze was fixed on his chest. Suddenly, a golden dragon scale slowly appeared. The dragon scale shone. Ao Xian trembled. I finally saw Calamity Sword. The sword that had ruled the heavens for 10,000 years. Xie Danqiong gasped for breath. His handsome face was flushed red. GMO opened his mouth and muttered to himself. Only those who were very close to him could hear what he was saying. Dog ant. Holy shit. Dog ant. What the fuck? So fucking beautiful. Your grandmother. Luo Kadi gasped. His eyeballs almost fell to the ground as he stared at Calamity Sword. He kept repeating, so it's true. So it's true. So it's true. Chu Yang also looked at Calamity Sword. He took a deep breath and said, This is the Calamity Sword. He paused for a moment before continuing softly. As for us brothers, for a very long time in the future, we'll all be in the same boat. Fate and this sword. They're connected together. As soon as these words were spoken, the brothers' expressions changed. As if they had just woken up from a dream, they suddenly trembled. No one doubted that it wasn't the Calamity Sword. This sword appeared out of thin air. Then under everyone's widened eyes, it grew from the size of a pinky to the size of a normal longsword. The size of a longsword could actually change? Not to mention seeing such a miraculous thing. The brothers had never even heard of such a thing. Such a miraculous sword. In the world, other than the Calamity Sword, what other sword could have such a miraculous effect? This is the Calamity Sword. Chu Yang's words had already drawn the attention of Gu Duxing and the others. They didn't notice Chu Yang's last sentence at all. Only Mo Tianji's eyes flashed, and he revealed a contemplative look. For a very long time, fate and this sword will be connected together. This sentence was worthy of praise. Generally speaking, the fate of the Calamity Sword's owner and the Calamity Sword would be closely related to the Calamity Sword. But from Chu Yang's words, why did it seem like that wasn't the case? It was just for a very long time? Mo Tianji was a little confused. Faintly he understood. A strange feeling rose in his heart. Could it be that the upper three heavens wasn't the end? Chu Yang slowly stood up with a heavy expression. I've hidden my identity from you for so long. You should understand that I had no choice. But what I'm telling you today isn't just to reveal my hidden identity. I'm also going to tell you about the true legend of the Calamity Sword. Mo Tianji was shocked. He perked up his ears and sat up straight. Chu Yang said in a low voice, "Since ancient times, there's a saying that the one who has the Calamity Sword will have the world. There's another saying that the calamities of each generation are the big clans that will dominate the world in the future. So, everyone knows that as long as one becomes a calamity, one can bring glory to the clan for 10,000 years. And the Calamity Sword himself will become an eternal legend." Everyone nodded. That's right. Everyone thought so, including the few of us. Wrong. Very wrong. Chu Yang said seriously. Wrong. Mo Tianji frowned. It's not wrong for Calamity to become a big clan. It's also not wrong for him to become a legend. But Calamity himself is wrong. Chu Yang smiled bitterly. For 10,000 years, 8 Calamity Sword Masters were born. But as far as I know, the founders of the big clans weren't Calamity's people but their children. And the Calamity Sword Master and Calamity disappeared without a trace. So where did Calamity go? Chu Yang slowly told the story of the Calamity Sword Master and Calamity, which had been covered up by history for 10,000 years. Everyone was moved. They didn't expect the legend of Calamity to be so cruel and cruel. The Calamity Sword Master betrayed Calamity? The calamities of each generation were all used to mend the world. Chu Yang said, "Maybe you'll think that the Calamity Sword Masters are all heartless, including Wu Jueqing at the end of 40,000 years ago. Because of this, he stayed in the human world and wanted to take revenge on the Calamity Sword Master. But this is a huge mistake and misunderstanding." Then, Chu Yang explained the real reason again. Gu Duxing's hands trembled a little. The other brothers were also moved by this. They didn't expect the real reason to be like this. Chu Yang concluded. So, although the Calamity Sword Masters and Calamity had a great friendship, they were really a bunch of tragic people. For the sake of his brother, he had sacrificed his own life. Yet he had allowed his brother to build his career in the other world with an eternal grudge against him. This is the sorrow of the Calamity Sword Master. Their brothers gave up everything for them, but they still resented them. This is also the sorrow of Calamity. They wanted to take revenge for an eternal misunderstanding, but in the end, they could only find out that they were wrong. But they still haven't come to their senses. And we can't bear to let people like Wu Jueqing come to their senses. How can this not be Wu Jueqing's sorrow? But you have to pay attention to one thing. Their sorrow is because they couldn't meet the final requirement. That's why we can't repeat the same mistake. Chu Yang sighed. Now I'm the Calamity Sword Master. Brothers, whether you like it or not. But because of me, you're really one of the calamities now. Gu Duxing and the others' breathing quickened. It's our turn now. Chu Yang smiled. Time will slowly prove what I said, but I'd rather say it first, so that you can be prepared. So we can't repeat the old path of the Calamity Sword Masters and Calamity. Chu Yang took a deep breath. So we have to kill them directly. So our goal is huge. Very far. This is our destiny. Chu Yang said deeply. Brothers, we need to face our destiny together. I need your answer. What do you think? What do you think? Chu Yang looked at them one by one solemnly. Gu Duxing smiled coldly and said indifferently. Boss, the calamities in the past are the calamities in the past. They have their own destinies, but we are not them. I know that boss needs everyone's opinion, so I'm not speaking for the brothers here. I'm only speaking for myself. A smile like a spring breeze appeared on his cold and hard face. Life and death follow you, that's all. Chu Yang's heart warmed, but his expression didn't change. His gaze turned to Mo Tianji. Mo Tianji smiled gently and elegantly. I'm different from them. We have conditions. Don't forget your promise in the future to marry my sister Mo Qinggu and be my brother-in-law. As long as you do it, even if you're really sinister and vicious, I'm fine with it. Chu Yang's face stiffened. He rubbed his nose and coughed awkwardly. GMO and Luo Kadi whistled at once. Everyone cheered. I see. Gu Duxing made a rare joke. In order to have a military advisor, boss sold himself to little Wu. In order to have a brother-in-law, Mo Tianji sold himself to his brother-in-law. Everyone laughed at once. Chu Yang coughed awkwardly and put on a fierce face. Let's get down to business. It's your turn, GMO grinned. I've never considered such complicated matters on my own. I've always been happy with myself. I feel very happy with my brothers, that's all. He revealed 2 rows of white teeth. I'll be happy even if I die. Luo Kadi patted him on the shoulder. GMO is very shameless. This is clearly what I wanted to say. A warm smile appeared on Aoshian's face, but he said, we have the sword supremacy, the saber supremacy, the successor of the dragon race, the descendant of the phoenix, the calamity sword master, the master of manipulation and calculation, the military advisor. With the dragons and phoenixes roaring, and the brothers united, we have the right time and the right people. I feel that such a team will definitely not fail. Since we won't fail, I love victory the most. Aoshian smiled. Even if we die, it'll be very satisfying. Chapter 12:26. Chuyang laughed out loud. Then he said in an awe-inspiring manner, what if I really want to betray you one day? What if I kill you? Big brother, you miscalculated. Gu Duxing sighed. You shouldn't have said it. If you say it now, how can you betray us in the future? At most, when you betray us, we will pretend to be ignorant. Ha ha ha. Okay. When the time comes and you betray us, let us know in advance. We can prepare our emotions and pretend to be ignorant. Everyone laughed together. The feeling of knowing each other spread warmly. Emotianji also laughed. He knew that what Chu Yang said now was nonsense to the brothers now. But this nonsense had to be said. Because in the future, when they reached the upper 3 heavens, as their level increased, they would come into contact with more and more secrets. After they came into contact with more, the matter of the past tribulation sword master and tribulation would be dug up sooner or later. What Chu Yang is saying now is nonsense. But it won't be as simple as just nonsense when our brothers find out about it by themselves. At the very least, there would be a knot in their hearts. Chu Yang's honesty now seemed silly, naive and nonsense, but it put an end to the possibility of the brothers splitting up in the future. It seemed that Chu Yang was thinking further than him. Big brother, now that you have said good and bad things, it's time to talk about business, right? Mo Tianji said. Of course, I have to talk about business. Chu Yang laughed. Then he asked, have you seen enough? If you have, I will put away tribulation sword. Not enough, everyone said in unison. Even if you look at it for 10,000 years, it won't be enough. If you haven't, then put it away. Chu Yang snorted. With a wave of his hand, tribulation sword flew up on its own. It shone brightly, as if it was bidding farewell to everyone. Then it slowly shrank in midair. Then it turned into a ray of light, and went into Chu Yang's heart. Everyone clicked their tongues in wonder. Luo Kadi came forward and touched Chu Yang's left chest. He praised. It really went in. Damn. Suddenly, there was a cry of surprise. The brothers were shocked. What's wrong? Luo Kadi narrowed his eyes and rubbed his palm gently. Big brother's chest is quite full. PFFF. Mo Tianji finally calmed down, and took a sip of tea. But because of this sentence, he spat it out and coughed repeatedly. His laughter shook the heavens. Little wolf, you've never had a wife. Could it be that you like this? GMO asked in a strange tone. Chu Yang slapped Luo Kadi's hand away with a smack sound. He said furiously, I only saw you acting like a rogue towards women. But now, you're actually lusting after men? This is really intolerable. Luo Kadi opened his mouth wide. I'm innocent. I only touched it. Ha. After laughing for a while, the atmosphere became more relaxed. Chu Yang then smiled and said, the lowest level of cultivation we have now is saint level. Duxing was already a first-grade sword sovereign. It can be said that with our age and cultivation, he would be considered a rare genius, even in the big clans of the upper 3 heavens. We do have the right to be proud. We have such strength, and our brothers are working together as one. In the upper 3 heavens, that's enough for me to move unhindered. As long as boss orders us to charge forward, we will swarm forward. Cut down the great clans. Chu Yang smiled faintly and asked, is that what you all think? Everyone was embarrassed. GMO and Luo Kadi coughed and turned their faces away. Their faces were already red. Ao Xian and Xie Danxiong coughed repeatedly. Gu Duxing's face was also a little red. When Chu Yang said that just now, everyone thought that it was a kind of affirmation, and they were all enraptured. But when they heard the last two sentences, they realized that it wasn't the case. Instantly, they were all a little embarrassed. But Chu Yang had indeed guessed what everyone was thinking. Their strength had skyrocketed, they were young and promising, and they were supreme martial artists. How many people could there be in the world? Naturally, they were extremely confident. Mo Tianji raised his eyebrows. He looked at the sorry state of these guys with great interest. I'm not saying that it's wrong for you to think this way. Of course, if people over 100 years old think this way, then they are old and muddle-headed. But you are young and you should be proud, Chu Yang said lightly. But what I want to say is that your strength is really far from enough. This time, apart from Mo Tianji, even Gu Duxing had a look of dissatisfaction on his face. There's no need to be dissatisfied, Chu Yang said. I just killed the Grand Duke of the Long clan in the lower three heavens. He was 28 years old, and a peak 8th grade martial saint. Or you might think that a 28-year-old 8th grade martial saint is no big deal, and that you are all younger than him and stronger than him. But don't forget that he was the youngest generation in the Long clan. Above him, there are people who have lived for hundreds, thousands of years, and even close to 10,000 years. What are the cultivation levels of those people? Chu Yang asked everyone. Really? Ao Xian asked in shock. Chu Yang nodded. All of you are first-grade supreme martial artists, but you are already considered the highest in your respective clans. But the Grand Duke of the Long clan, Lan Rua, is far from being ranked among the experts in the Lan clan. As far as I know, in every big clan on the surface, there is one peak-level supreme martial artist, 2 to 3 beginner or second-grade supreme martial artists, 5 8th-grade supreme martial artists, more than 10 7th-grade supreme martial artists, dozens of second-grade supreme martial artists, and at least 300 lower-grade supreme martial artists. And this is just the strength on the surface, Chu Yang said solemnly. Everyone turned pale with fright. GMO was tongue-tied. That many? In secret, the Dharma Supreme once instructed the big clans to cultivate secret forces 5,000 years ago, and 1,000 years ago to fight against the Tribulation Sword Master. Therefore, in secret, every clan has such experts, at least the same number. Just the big clans alone, we have to face at least 5,000 supreme martial artists. We only have these 7 to 8 people. Chu Yang smiled faintly. Silence fell. Even Mo Tianji had not expected such tyrannical strength, and such a great disparity in strength. Before Chu Yang said this, Mo Tianji had already tried his best to overestimate the big clans. But compared to the current numbers, it was at least 50 times worse. Oh, let me tell you, the second ancestors of the great clans were all dead, but the founders of the great clans were still alive. But the founders are the first-generation ancestors, the children of the previous generation's tribulation, who are still alive. Basically, every one of them. They all have a cultivation level of more than 1,000 years. Chu Yang added. The expressions on the faces of the brothers became somewhat distorted. Yes, there's still the biggest enemy that I haven't mentioned, Chu Yang said slowly. It's the law enforcement officers with the greatest strength, who are currently in charge of the heavens and spread all over the upper 3 heavens. Mo Tianji's expression became unusually heavy. The number of experts in the law enforcement officers is definitely not comparable to that of the big clans, but it's definitely comparable to any 2 or 3 clans combined. The quality of their experts is also much stronger than that of the big clans. The big clans only have 10,000 years of foundation, but the law enforcement officers have tens of thousands of years of accumulation. At this point, Chu Yang suddenly paused, because he thought of a terrifying fact. The big clans had tens of thousands of years of accumulation. If they could have experts at the peak level, then in these tens of thousands of years of accumulation, how many such experts were there? Such experts? Were they still in the heavens continent? Were they still alive? If they were still alive, then how high were their cultivations? He thought of Zi Xieching's words. All these years, the heavens experts that I've fought with, there were more than 10 of them. Feng Yu could be listed in the top 10. However, before Zi Xieching said this, She had not fought with Ning Tianya and Buluqing, nor had she faced the Dharma Supreme, much less Wu Jueqing. Then, among the top 10 experts that Zi Xieching had evaluated, who were the other 8? Even if Chen Feng and Lu Yin had gone, but what about the other one? Where was he? And these were the ones that Zi Xieching had fought with. How many more had she not fought with? Zi Xieching had only said the top 10, but how many were there outside the top 10? So how many seats did the law enforcement officers have? Mo Tianji's expression became extremely heavy. He was thinking, in the face of such experts, how effective would his scheming and wisdom be? After saying this, the hearts of the 7 brothers were all heavy. GMO and the others, who were originally full of confidence and complacency, were instantly deflated, like a swollen bladder that had been pricked by a needle. They had thought that they were already considered big shots, but now, it seemed that they were still small fries. So, if we want to overturn the heavens, we have to go through a series of bloody battles and countless life and death experiences. Mo Tianji said, his voice relaxed and high-spirited. However, although boss described the enemies as strong, I only feel very excited. Mo Tianji smiled slightly. If we can level the heavens with just a breath, then what's the point? The more difficult it is, the more interesting it is. The more powerful the enemy is, the higher and faster we will be able to improve under their training. Mo Tianji laughed somewhat frivolously. These enemies are nothing but whetstones for us. If we want to stand at the top, we have to first step on the stepping stones, and then use the whetstones to walk up step by step. GMO smiled. I'm just afraid that the whetstones are too hard, and will break the blade. Mo Tianji smiled confidently. If the blade breaks, it means that it's not strong enough. If it breaks, then so be it. Since it's not strong enough, it will break sooner or later. But as long as it's not broken, it can split the heavens. Mo Tianji smiled gently, his eyes shining brightly. He said slowly, word by word, the whetstones in the heavens, wait for me to sharpen my blade. My blade will shine and enter the heavens. Mo Tianji had never spoken so frivolously before. At this moment, not only was he frivolous, but he was also overbearing, arrogant, and condescending. However, it was precisely because of this frivolous and arrogant tone and expression that did not put the world in his eyes that the eyes of the brothers gradually lit up. Wait for me to sharpen my blade. Update. Let me tell everyone a piece of good news. Our World Defying Heaven's 7th subscription group, the World Defying Heaven's 7th subscription group, is open today. This group is a full subscription group. This month, we are aiming for the top. We hope that all the brothers and sisters of World Defying Heavens will join. Feng Ling welcomes you, World Defying Heavens welcomes you. Chapter 1227. That's right. If our opponents aren't strong, how can we improve? If that's the case, we might as well stay in the lower 3 heavens. It'll be easier in the lower 3 heavens. Gu Duxing raised his head coldly. I like strong opponents. Me too. Xie Danxiong smiled lightly. My viburnum flower hasn't bloomed for a long time. Ha ha ha. Luo Kadi was stunned at first. Then he burst into laughter, rocking back and forth. Tears even flowed out. I'm sorry. I heard it as your chrysanthemum hasn't bloomed for a long time. Xie Danxiong was so angry that he couldn't speak. His finger trembled as he pointed at Luo Kadi. After a while he gritted his teeth and said, Really, really? Extremely shameless. The other 5 people finished Xie Danxiong's sentence in unison. At the same time, Xie Danxiong also said it, not missing a single word. Everyone laughed so hard that they fell over. It looked like this wasn't the first time Luo Kadi teased Xie Danxiong. And Xie Danxiong was like this every time. His finger trembled, his handsome face flushed red, and he gritted his teeth and said, Really, really, extremely shameless. Over time, the brothers had already learned to do it, GMO chuckled. I like it. As a man, trampling on the strong and humiliating the pure is my highest pursuit. It's also a great feeling. Ao Xian burst into laughter. You'd better hurry up and let Aobo humiliate you. Everyone laughed so hard that their stomachs hurt. Mo Tianji smiled, and gave Chu Yang a look. Chu Yang smiled and said, All right, it's getting late. All of you should hurry back. Yes, especially those with wives and concubines, It'll be better tonight. Tomorrow morning, I'll come and test the results of your seclusion. GMO chuckled. Boss, compared to super experts, we're obviously still a lot worse. But compared to you, hee hee, I'm not bragging. You're really not much right now. He laughed happily. Every time I think about this, my heart feels as sweet as honey. Chuyang said deeply. Okay, tomorrow. I'll let you feel sweet enough. GMO puffed out his chest. I'll wait and see. Chuyang raised his eyebrows. You'll know what it means to be powerful tomorrow. Why aren't you getting lost? Are you waiting for Abwa to catch you? GMO was startled. He subconsciously turned his head to take a look. Then he turned his head and said loudly, Hey, why would I be afraid of her? What do you know? Abwa is as obedient as a kitten in front of me. Everyone burst out in laughter and said in unison, Shameless. Scram. GMO giggled and swaggered off. Xie Danxiong also stood up. His handsome face was slightly red. Well, I understand. The remaining 5 people spoke in unison, winked at the same time, and revealed ambiguous smiles at the same time. Xie Danxiong walked away with a red face. Cough. Ao Xie Yun coughed. But Luo Kudi had already interrupted. Brother Xie Yun, you have to be careful tonight. Don't turn into a dragon by any means. You can really lose your life. Ao Xian cursed loudly. He took to his heels and left. I'm leaving too. Luo Kudi scratched his head. They're going back to hug beauties. I'm going back to hug pillows. Gu Duxing stood up. Let's go. Chu Yang looked at him strangely. Don't tell me you want Sister Xiaomiao to catch you? Gu Duxing blushed and said. No. There's something. I have to say something. Seeing Gu Duxing's strange expression, Chu Yang was a little surprised. What's the matter? Cough. It's like this. When Big Brother went missing, and I returned to the clan, foster father once said that Sister Xiaomiao and I were not young anymore. He wanted to marry us. At that time I said, my big brother's life and death are unknown. How can I be in the mood to marry? When my big brother comes back, I'll get married immediately. Cough cough. Now you're back. Chu Yang was stunned. In that instant he was excited, touched, and a little amused. I say, you blockhead. If I didn't come back, would you never find a wife? Gu Duxing's cold face revealed a trace of an embarrassed smile. He actually scratched his head and stammered. Well, since Big Brother is back today, I want to get this done as soon as possible. It just so happens that all the brothers are here. I want to marry Sister Xiaomiao in front of the whole 3 days. Big Brother, please bear witness. Gu Duxing was a little embarrassed. Before we get married, I won't that. Understood. Chu Yang said seriously. Later, let Tianji, the master of calculation and manipulation, check the date and get this done. I can stay here for at most a month. This matter I'll do my best. Chu Yang said. We can't be slow. If sister-in-law blames us, I can't take the blame. Everyone laughed. Mo Tianji touched his chin. It seems that today is a good day for marriage. Get lost. Mo Tianji hurriedly changed his words. But really 7 days later is an auspicious day. Isn't it a little too soon? Chu Yang was shocked. Marriage is a big event in life. It can't be so rushed. It's not urgent. Mo Tianji had a well-thought-out plan. Du Xing, you should immediately send someone back to the Gu clan to inform them. At the same time, you should ask Uncle Ao to send out the invitations tomorrow morning to create momentum. 7 days should be enough. Chu Yang said decisively. Since that's the case, it's settled. Announce to the upper 3 heavens that all clans and forces, no matter who they are, must come and participate. Those who don't come are our enemies. In particular, the gifts can't be too shabby. Also, they don't want gold or silver. They only want rare and good things, such as elixirs, spirit stones, and precious metals. Mo Tianji laughed. Exactly what I want. We're about to kill our way up to the upper 3 heavens. We can make use of Du Xing's wedding to plunder the upper 3 heavens as our foundation. Previously, I was still worried. Now it's good. Du Xing wants to get married. If we don't make use of such a good reason, we'd be stupid. Chu Yang clapped his hands and said excitedly. Good. We'll say it like this. Those who received the invitation and the news, if they don't come, They'll be the common enemy of our clans, and the heavenly army. We'll kill them without mercy. Also, we'll judge their attitude towards them based on the quality of the gifts. This is a ruthless move. Yes, that's how it should be done. Motianji was exultant. The gifts should be divided into first class, second class, third class and unrated. First class gifts should be of high standard. They should sit in a private room and drink good wine. Second class gifts should be served in a hall and drink ordinary wine. Third class gifts should be served outdoors and bring their own wine. All unrated gifts should be given. All gifts should be left behind. Their legs should be broken, and they should be chased out. As for those who don't present gifts, they should all be killed. Yes, this invitation is in the name of the heavenly army. It's from the Gu clan, Ao clan and Luo clan. The Mo clan, Dong clan, Xie clan and Ji clan will jointly present it. It'll be more grand. Chu Yang's eyes shone. Yes, let's do it this way. The two unscrupulous people were exultant as they discussed their plan to amass wealth. Then I'll quickly go and discuss it with Sister Xiao Miao. Gu Duxing was shocked. He hurriedly turned and left. He was speechless towards these two money grubbers. Time is so tight, and you still want to amass wealth. I'll get married and you'll get rich. Cough, cough, cough. Why does this feel so wrong? Only Mo Tianji and Chu Yang were left in the room. The two faced each other and laughed for a while. Then they remained silent. They each thought about their own matters and the topics they wanted to talk about. There's only the two of us left. Boss, are you interested in drinking another cup? Mo Tianji smiled slightly. Of course. Chu Yang laughed. I haven't had a good drink with you in a long time. There are too many people tonight. I can't drink to my heart's content. Mo Tianji smiled warmly. I'll go get some wine. I have some here. There's not only good wine, there's also good food. Chu Yang reached out and took it out of the tribulation space. He went out every day. Naturally, he had a large stock of these things. Good. The two toasted and drank silently. For a long time, they didn't say a word. After a long time, Mo Tianji finally said, I've been with these guys for more than a year. It's really hard. It's really hard to imagine how you managed to convince them in the past. They don't need to be convinced. Chu Yang smiled faintly. I have a heart. I have a heart. A heart. Mo Tianji repeated and laughed. That's right. This is indeed a divine weapon that works on people like us. It's even sharper than the tribulation sword. Chu Yang laughed and was overjoyed. It's the same for you. Mo Tianji raised his eyebrows. Of course. The two clinked their cups and drank the wine in one gulp. Although the two were talking nonsense, they both knew what the other wanted to say. They were both preparing. Mo Tianji finally spoke first. The enemy is strong. I need to know more details. The more detailed, the better. The more detailed, the better. From now on, he had to start preparing for the future. Mo Tianji was always like this. He would start preparing for anything before the plan was formed. When it really started, all the preparations would be directed towards one goal at the same time. One move would be earth-shattering. Chu Yang thought for a long time and said, I need to straighten it out. He couldn't talk casually to Mo Tianji like he was telling a story, because Mo Tianji would find out what was really useful from what he said. Even some unintentional words that he didn't expect would cause Mo Tianji to expand to thousands of miles. Therefore, Chu Yang had to properly straighten out his thoughts. I understand. Mo Tianji smiled. I understand. You understand. This sentence was a bit tongue-twisting, but the two smiled knowingly. Xiao Wu is in my house now, Chu Yang said softly as he sorted out his thoughts. Ah. Mo Tianji's eyes lit up. He anxiously grabbed Chu Yang's hand. How is Xiao Wu now? Chu Yang smiled warmly. She's very happy. And she's already a martial saint. During this time, she's probably a 3rd or 4th grade martial saint. Mo Tianji clapped his hands excitedly. That's great. Then he looked suspiciously at Chu Yang. But why isn't this girl learning from her master? Why is she in your house, you pervert? Why is she in your house? You beast, you didn't do anything to Xiao Wu, did you? There are more than 1,000 words left for the 8th part. My hand is cramping. I'll write the 8th part later. G. Chapter 12:28. Chu Yang was furious. Am I that kind of person? The more Mo Tianji thought about it, the more dangerous it was. He said, I'm worried about your character. Chu Yang couldn't tolerate Mo Tianji's suspicion of his character. He was furious. She will be my wife sooner or later. So what if she does something? What can you do about it? Mo Tianji was furious. Beast. Indeed, he was a beast from head to toe. Being in the same team as you, this military advisor is deeply ashamed. I don't know who is the real beast between the two of us. Chu Yang retorted. I only said it. I didn't do anything. You, on the other hand, had 2 concubines a few years ago. They are not even 10 years old yet. What do you know? Mo Tianji's face turned red and he scolded. Then he sighed and said, You don't know. There is an inside story. Inside story? Chu Yang was surprised. These 2 women are sisters by blood. It was my mistake. I was still young at that time. I fell into Mo Tianyun's trap. I acted out of anger and killed the wrong people. I killed their parents. Mo Tianji sighed. I knew I was wrong after that. However, the dead cannot be brought back to life. At that time, my subordinates wanted to eliminate the root of the problem in order to avoid future troubles. I had no choice but to protect them in the name of being lecherous and taking concubines. I was only 10 years old then. If I was young now, I would have thought of a better way. Mo Tianji took a deep breath. Mo Tianji, am not a good person. Exterminating clans and killing people is a common occurrence for me. However, I did the right thing. Therefore, I have a clear conscience. However, when it comes to the things that I did wrong, I can't eliminate the guilt by killing them. Since these 2 girls followed me, I have always treated them like little sisters. On one hand, I tried my best to make up for my mistakes. On the other hand, every time I saw them, I would remind myself not to make any more mistakes. That's why most of my decisions are made under such careful consideration. These 2 sisters are the alarm bells that I keep by my side. Every time I have an emotional outburst, I ask for tea. They would bring me tea. When they appeared, they would immediately remind me not to be impulsive, to think carefully, and not to make any more mistakes. Regardless of whether it was because of him, was it because of someone else? I can't afford to be wrong. Mo Tianji sighed and said, In this chaotic world of Jianghu, we can't afford to make any mistakes. A single mistake could lead to eternal damnation. This was one of the reasons. Secondly, if you still have a conscience, once you kill the innocent, it will form an inner demon. You'll never reach the peak of martial arts. It's been a few years since they came to me, but I haven't laid a finger on them. If they take a fancy to someone else in the future, I will give them a generous dowry, like how I would give my younger sister. I will send them off in a grand manner. Chu Yang sighed and patted his shoulder. It's been hard on you. It's hard to say. You can't say that you're in a difficult position. After all, you're the one in the wrong. Mo Tianji drank a big mouthful of wine. Yes. However, it seems unlikely that they will take a fancy to someone else. Chu Yang smiled bitterly. The way these 2 girls look at you clearly shows that they are deeply in love. To be honest, if they really take a fancy to someone else, I really can't bear to do it. Mo Tianji smiled bitterly. However, the 2 of them are very clear about their family background. They understand everything. Yet they have imperceptibly fallen in love with me. This is the most painful thing right now. I am in pain, but the 2 of them are in more pain than I am. Chu Yang sighed. This matter was the most troublesome thing for Mo Tianji. This kind of thing, even if he was the master of calculation and manipulation, even if he could see through the mysteries of heaven, what could he do? The 2 girls fell in love with the enemy who killed their father. Their love was deeply rooted. He couldn't kill them. He couldn't marry them. Mo Tianji accepted the daughter of his enemy. He couldn't marry her, and couldn't bear to drive her away. This kind of feeling was really a mess. He couldn't throw it away or let it go. He could only be helpless. A few years ago, I was still on guard. I was afraid that they would kill me for revenge. But now, I have completely let down my guard against them. These 2 girls also don't have any intention to kill me. However, the pain is increasing with each passing day. Mo Tianji smiled faintly. I can only turn this pain into my sobriety. I don't want to kill the wrong person again. As for the three of us, we can only drag it out like this. Mo Tianji sighed deeply. Drag it out and take one step at a time. Chu Yang sighed with some schadenfreude. I originally thought that my feelings were tangled enough. Now it seems that you are a little more miserable than me. He didn't know why. Or perhaps it was a bad taste. But in this life, Chu Yang especially liked to see Mo Tianji's embarrassed and helpless expression. He took great pleasure in Mo Tianji's misfortune. Other than Mo Tianji, no one else had this kind of treatment. For example, Mo Tianji's heart was blocked in this matter. In Chu Yang's eyes it was no big deal. Although it was difficult to deal with, you have already announced that these two girls are your concubines. Can they still marry others? Besides, you have feelings for each other. What's the big deal even if you take them as concubines? Isn't it a kind of compensation and psychological comfort? However, since Mo Tianji was tangled up, Chu Yang naturally wouldn't say anything. This was because he understood Mo Tianji's temper very well. If you tried to persuade him, he could come up with 10,000 reasons to make you as tangled as him. Chu Yang didn't want to be tangled up. My pain can only increase your joy. Mo Tianji looked at Chu Yang with contempt. I have already seen through you. Chu Yang smiled mischievously. Same to you. What do you mean by same to you? Mo Tianji suddenly became vigilant. You also have emotional entanglements? Where did it come from? Don't tell me that besides my sister, you have other women outside? Chu Yang was dumbfounded. He didn't expect this fire to burn him so quickly. He flew into a rage out of humiliation and said fiercely, What? You can have 3 wives and 4 concubines, but you can't let me have one? Mo Tianji narrowed his eyes. Really? Chu Yang slumped down. Really? It's a long story. I really regret it. I shouldn't have agreed to it in the first place. Half of Mo Tianji's anger was extinguished by these words. He said dumbfoundedly, Tell me about it. This matter is. Chu Yang said, This is a secret. I will only tell you. Originally, I thought that I had nothing to worry about in the lower 3 heavens. I didn't expect that I would be poisoned by a lust dragon. I thought that she was dead. I didn't expect that she had been hiding it all this time. Her Majesty the Emperor of Iron Cloud. She was originally a girl cough cough. Chu Yang said it with difficulty. These words had been suppressed in his heart for a long time. He needed to find someone to talk to. Mo Tianji was the best trash can. That's it. My son is 1 year old now. Chu Yang spread his hands. What can I do? I say, brother-in-law Mo Tianji, do you understand? Huh? Mo Tianji didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He was also at a loss. This matter. It seems that I can't blame you. Give me an idea. Chu Yang tilted his head. Mo Tianji coughed. He already had a son. What else could he do? Give him an idea to abandon his sister? Wouldn't that be a bastard? Let's talk about serious matters. Mo Tianji said righteously. Feelings are your private matter. You can do whatever you want. I can't care. Anyway, my sister can't be wronged. Chu Yang was in awe of this guy's despicable and shameless act of hiding his true intentions behind his sanctimonious facade. Since you can't care, you actually said my sister can't be wronged. This is bullshit. Mo Tianji obviously didn't want to talk about feelings anymore. Let's talk about the enemy. You haven't thought about it for such a long time? My feelings are a mess. Chu Yang sighed in disappointment. Mo Tianji turned a deaf ear. There are so many supreme martial artists in the big clans. What's the position of each clan? Distribution? Relationship between each other? Grudges? Which clan is related to which clan? Secret dealings? And what's their attitude? Wait. He raised a series of 40 to 50 questions. Chu Yang listened and his head swelled. He raised his hands in surrender. Stop, stop, stop. How about this? I'll tell you everything I know. Then, you can ask me if there's anything you don't understand. If I don't understand either, then we can only wait for the future. Okay. Mo Tianji walked to the table and picked up a pen, ready to record and form information at any time. The big clans are like this. Chu Yang quickly organized his thoughts and said bit by bit. He knew that Mo Tianji wanted to form a general first-hand information. I'll start with the big picture. As Chu Yang spoke, Mo Tianji frowned deeply. His pen flew, and in an instant, he drew a sketch of the distribution of the big clans in the upper three heavens on the table. Xu Yang took a look. Yes, it's basically like this. But the distance between each clan is quite far. The distance between any two clans is as far as the south to the north in the upper three heavens. Mo Tianji took a deep breath. He didn't say anything and noted this point. Then there's the relationship between the big clans. Xu Yang continued. He heard all this from Lan Rua. It was really hard on Lan Rua. In order to make a good impression in front of the Tribulation Sword Master, he had to memorize all these things. Now Mo Tianji was the one who benefited. Mo Tianji memorized everything. Xu Yang spoke until he was thirsty, and picked up a cup of water to drink. Then, Mo Tianji was startled. According to what is written above, basically every clan is related to the other clans. Moreover, this is only for the last 200 years. If it's like this, isn't it like an iron plate? Mo Tianji scratched his head. Of course it's not like an iron plate. Xu Yang rolled his eyes. In the upper three heavens, there aren't many purple crystal mines. And they're also very widely distributed. In addition, there are black, blue, white and other mines. These are the main interests of the upper three heavens. Chapter 1229. Around these mines, disputes between the big clans have also been going on for many years. But on the surface, of course, they are all peaceful. Xu Yang's information on these mines was also obtained from Lan Rua. In the past, Xu Yang really didn't think of the importance of these mines. But after Lan Rua's explanation, he finally understood that these mines were, in fact, the real pillars of the big clans. And every mine was guarded by many supreme martial artist experts. What I'm going to talk about next is the grievances between the big clans. Xu Yang said seriously, the reason why I'm talking about pity first, and then grievances later is because I want you to weigh the grievances against each other, and the issue of benefits. This requires precise calculation. Mo Tianji frowned and pursed his lips. He nodded deeply and didn't say a word. As Xu Yang spoke, Mo Tianji's frown became tighter and tighter. When Xu Yang finished, it was already dawn outside. A night had passed. Mo Tianji's wrists were sore. If his left hand was sore, he would switch to his right hand. If his right hand was sore, he would switch to his left hand. Now both his hands were trembling like chicken feet. He stared dumbfoundedly at the stack of papers that was 2 feet thick in front of him. He let out a long sigh. This is just the initial information? Rough information? Xu Yang nodded. Compared to the information of the big clans, this information is insignificant. Mo Tianji's face was ashen. Just this. I've already used 5 big bottles of ink and lost 13 brushes. Xu Yang encouraged him. Good luck. Mo Tianji's face was very pale. Do you know that if I had so much information in the upper three heavens, I could have at least sorted out half of it? I just want to know, what have you seen now? Xu Yang asked. I can only see 2 points now. First, you are in the upper three heavens. You are not able to really hurt the big clans. Second, the Li clan that we have set up beforehand is not powerful enough to deal with them alone. Also, there are too many variables, and they can change sides at any time. Third, the grievances between the big clans. It's not enough to make them fight to the death. Fourth, at the moment, the only thing that can be used is these mines. Also black crystals, blue crystals and so on. These can be ignored. The focus is only on the purple crystal mines. Only large-scale purple crystal mines can really trigger a big war. And to do that, we still need to keep fanning the flames. Otherwise, the war wouldn't have happened. Fifth, if there is no internal strife among them, we want to unify. It was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Especially if you want to unify without sacrificing anything. That's even more impossible. The most powerless of all. Right now, the heaven passage is still sealed. Other than you, none of us can go up. Mo Tianji sighed deeply. I can't even find more information. In this way, when the heaven passage opens, we will have to face the most dangerous and severe situation to plan and fight. However, among the great clans of the upper three heavens, there is a clan with wisdom. In the Wisdom clan, there's another person who isn't weaker than me in any aspect. In fact, he's even stronger than me, Diwu Qingro. The worst thing is that Diwu Qingro had vaguely guessed your identity. Once you force him into a corner at a critical moment, all he needs to do is reveal your identity, and the situation can be reversed immediately. Such a great trump card, such an earth-shattering trump card, is in the hands of the enemy. Mo Tianji looked up and sighed. The most tragic thing is that the Dharma Supreme of the law enforcement officers was actually once one of the tribulations. He's familiar with all the actions and abnormalities of the tribulation's sword master. Whether it's martial power, intelligence, manpower, timing, location, or people, they are all on the enemy's side. And we, on the other hand, are just the 60s. Mo Tianji rubbed his forehead. I want to say that this is too tragic. Chu Yang said. The whetstone in the heavens is waiting for me to sharpen my saber. My saber will shine brightly and soar into the heavens. Get lost. Mo Tianji was a little exasperated. That's what I said to comfort them and boost their fighting spirit. What's the use of saying that to myself? This is really a headache. Mo Tianji said. As long as we can win this battle, your reputation as the master of calculation and manipulation, as well as your mastery of the mental cultivation techniques of the world, will truly be achieved, Chu Yang encouraged. I have no doubts about this. Mo Tianji sighed. I'm afraid that I'll be dead from exhaustion before we win. When Chu Yang spoke again, he realized that Mo Tianji was already completely immersed in it. He couldn't hear anything. When Chu Yang walked out, Mo Tianji was still looking down, flipping through these materials one by one. Then, he carefully differentiated them and started to copy them again. Once Mo Tianji was completely immersed in it, even a bull wouldn't be able to pull him out. Chu Yang walked out and gently closed the door. The sky was already bright. The Ao clan was in jubilation. Today was the birthday of the clan master. Ao Tianxing lanterns and colored banners were everywhere. At this juncture, the young clan master just happened to come out of seclusion. This was even more of a double blessing. The moment Chu Yang went out, he found Ao Xieyun and told him about Gu Duxing's wedding. Especially regarding the request for the wedding gift, he explained it in detail. Ao Xieyun's reaction was very comical. He opened his mouth and stared, his whole body trembling. Is there a need to be in such a hurry? Ao Xieyun asked. The sooner the better. Chu Yang directly instructed. Quickly arrange for people to write the invitations. Then, through the intelligence network, spread them all over the world. Okay. Ao Xieyun wasn't a sloppy person. He turned around and was about to make the arrangements. After taking 2 steps, he suddenly turned back. Boss, that wedding gift, there's a chance that I'll get a share, right? How much can I get? Chu Yang gritted his teeth. If you don't do it after saying this, you won't get a share even if it's 60s. Ao Xieyun disappeared with a whoosh. As the Grand Duke of the Ao clan, Ao Xieyun could be said to have everything he wanted. But for some reason, he was a little greedy since he was young. This time, after awakening the divine dragon bloodline, he became even more stingy. When he saw a treasure, he couldn't pull it away. Chu Yang was especially curious. After discussing with Mo Tianji and the others for a while, he realized that the dragon clan was greedy to begin with. Every dragon was a collector of wealth, only in and not out. Ao Xieyun's current behavior could already be considered charitable in the land of the dragon clan. Chu Yang secretly calculated in his heart. In the future, when they reached the upper 3 heavens, it would be more appropriate for Ao Xieyun to manage the finances of the brothers. Only in and not out. How worry-free. Ao Xieyun directly made a big move. In 30 minutes, he gathered 500 accountants. Then, he threw a few thick copies of the distribution of forces in the 3 heavens on the table. 1 invitation for each force. Write it down clearly. I want to see it today. Who dares to not give face to me and the heavenly armament pavilion in the 3 heavens? Gifts must be heavenly treasures and purple crystals. Metals must be treasured. All of them must be of the highest quality. Sign it off with the heavenly armament pavilion as the first. Gu clan second, Ao clan third, then Luo clan, Dong clan, Ji clan. Wait. The Grand Duke's face was like a bandit, causing the accountants to tremble. Great young master. You want to scour the entire three heavens. At the same time, GMO Luokadi, Dongwule, Xie Danxiong and the others also received the news. Then the various clans immediately gathered their people. Some wrote invitations while others sent out notices. Many of them even sent out messenger birds as fast as a spark of fire. There were also many people who directly rode their horses and rushed out. The entire Mo clan was instantly filled with the fragrance of ink. The sound of writing could be heard everywhere, as if countless silkworms were eating mulberry leaves. The ink on the invitations that were still wet were immediately distributed. Those who had messenger birds tied them to their legs, pinched them into wax balls and released them. Those who didn't had messenger birds immediately rushed to deliver the invitations. Chu Yang specially wrote a letter to Dukyu, requesting the people of the Dark Bamboo to participate in this operation. The words in the letter were very polite. It was said that after Dukyu saw it, he first smashed the table. Then, he pointed at the sun and cursed. In the end, he ordered the invitations to be sent out, and then prepared the gifts. Is the wine tasty? Is the water tasty? Gu Duxing wants to get married. Help advertise and ask for some betrothal gifts. We want heavenly treasures, rare metals and so on. There was a long list of requests at the back. Dukyu was full of anger. Damn it, isn't this threatening me? But I have to accept this threat. I'm so angry. When the accountants of the Dark Bamboo saw the draft written by Dukyu, they were all shocked. A man with a goatee mustered the courage to ask, Minister Yu, is this a mistake? Since ancient times, who would write invitations like this? Dukyu was full of anger. Just write it when I ask you to. What nonsense are you spouting? Instantly, everyone kept quiet out of fear. Not long after, all the members of the Dark Bamboo in the world were mobilized, sending out notices and invitations. The entire three heavens was in a state of panic. Chu Yang stood in the backyard, breathing under the sunlight. Gu Duxing hurried over. I just woke up. After discussing it last night, I feel that something is wrong. It's still not too late to get married 7 days later. But, where am I supposed to put my face if they use my name to plunder money and gifts in the three heavens? This is too embarrassing. No. Chu Yang was stunned for a moment, and then he laughed dryly. It seems that it's not up to you now. Gu Duxing was stunned. Why? I'm not allowed to get married? Well, because the invitations are all on the way. Chu Yang laughed dryly. You know this, the big clans are always very fast when doing things. Gu Duxing was stunned, and on the verge of collapsing. They're all on the way? Chu Yang laughed dryly. 7 to 8 big clans are sending out invitations together. And I've even mobilized the entire Dark Bamboo. Although it's only been less than 3 hours since dawn, this news has been sent out at least tens of thousands. This number is definitely conservative. Please believe in me. Gu Duxing was completely speechless. He didn't expect Chu Yang to be so swift and decisive. He had just said it and already done it. He didn't even have time to react. Begging for monthly votes. Currently, we're standing at the top in a precarious position. No matter what, we're still the top. So thank you, brothers and sisters. So, I'll continue to write the 10th update. I'll fulfill my promise. Chapter 1230. Gu Duxing, the groom-to-be, stood there in a daze. For a moment he looked like a wooden statue. At this moment, he really understood what it meant to not know whether to laugh or cry. This time, it was really over. From today onwards, the name Gu Duxing would really stink the streets for the next 3 days. But Gu Duxing didn't know that all this was because of Mo Tianji's words. This matter must be done quickly. Right now, Gu Duxing is immersed in his blissful fantasy. But by tomorrow morning at the latest, he will consider the problem of face. So before he finds you tomorrow morning, this matter must be done. Chu Yang was very much in agreement. And so, under the situation where the bride and groom didn't even know, the invitations were already sent out. My face. Gu Duxing wanted to cry but had no tears. Chu Yang comforted him. It's okay, Duxing. Actually, all this time, what face do you have? Don't want this face anymore. It's useless, really. Besides, you already have a wife. What do you need face for? Was this comforting? Gu Duxing turned around abruptly and jumped up. He grabbed Chu Yang's neck and shook him fiercely. I'll strangle you to death. Chu Yang stuck out his tongue from the choke. With a loud roar, GMO came out with his sword. Gu Duxing, what are you doing? How dare you bully boss? Are you rebelling? Come. I want to duel with boss. Chu Yang and Gu Duxing fainted at the same time. They thought that a helper had come. But in the end, after criticizing Gu Duxing righteously, he himself wanted to duel with Chu Yang, who was currently being bullied. What the hell was this? Chu Yang hurriedly broke free. You want to duel? Okay. GMO. I said that I would make you feel sweeter than honey today. Duel with boss. Count me in. Gu Duxing's face was gloomy. I want to claim back the compensation for the damage to my reputation. I'll give you an extra 5% of your betrothal gift, okay? Chu Yang negotiated patiently. That was all mine to begin with. Gu Duxing said indignantly. Yes, it's all yours. Chu Yang comforted him. But you're from the Heavenly Armament Pavilion, and the Heavenly Armament Pavilion is ours. So your betrothal gift is also ours. Gu Duxing said angrily. Duel? Who's afraid of you? Chu Yang snorted. Come, I'll teach you guys a lesson. While they were talking, Ao Xian, Xie Danqiong, and Luo Kadi came in a single file. Everyone had a smug look on their faces, as if they were waiting to watch a good show. He was full of confidence. Everyone was full of confidence for this battle with Chu Yang. More than a year. From the Emperor level to the Supreme Being level, there was a gap of 20 levels. This speed had even surpassed Chu Yang's record for the fastest improvement. Furthermore, the record at that time was a mere martial ancestor or martial honorable. Therefore, everyone was very certain that no matter how much boss improved, he was definitely not a match for us this time. His long-awaited wish of beating up his boss was finally going to be fulfilled today, especially when he saw Gu Duxing choking Chu Yang's neck. And Chu Yang was powerless to resist, so his confidence grew even greater. Go. Don't fight here. Ao Xian took the lead and walked out in high spirits. It's not good to destroy my house. Let's find a quiet place and have a good fight. Just come back before noon. As he walked, he said, Be careful, don't break boss. You can kick his butt a few more times. But try not to beat his face too badly. Just beat him into a dragon head. Boss is commonly known as a dragon head. Beating him into a dragon head is not bad. That's right. What Duke Xie said really makes sense. Luo Kadi and GMO smiled evilly as they followed behind. They were rather impatient. Gu Duxing, who was at the back, thought for a while. He said in a low voice, Why don't you admit defeat? Admit defeat? Chu Yang snorted. You actually want to beat me into a dragon head? Humph. I can't stand to see you all so smug. I'll teach you all a lesson today. Including you, I'll beat you into a dragon head. Don't worry, I'll be merciful to you. I won't delay your wedding. I definitely won't let you go into the bridal chamber with a dragon head. Gu Duxing was furious. He really didn't know how to appreciate kindness. He swept away angrily. In the open space of the mountain, this was a secluded little valley. It was very quiet. Chu Yang stood directly in the middle. He turned to face the five of them with his hands behind his back. Are you all coming together? Or are you all coming one by one? Ha. The five guys opposite him laughed in unison. They had obviously heard an extremely hilarious joke. Boss, we're all supreme martial artists now. Supreme martial artists? Do we still need to come together to deal with you? GMO held his head high and smiled so widely that his eyes couldn't be seen. His expression was especially despicable. Oh then, who's going first? Chu Yang's hands were a little itchy. I'll go first. Apart from Gu Duxing, the other four fought to be the first to say this at the same time. In the end, it was still GMO who was a step ahead. He jumped out directly and put on an act of holding his sword and bowing. Boss, please give me your guidance. Before Chu Yang could return the bow, he was already overjoyed and laughing. Come on. Chu Yang smiled lightly. A what dog ant? GMO exhaled loudly. His shout shook the vast sky. Then his body suddenly turned into a streamer of light and madly rushed towards Chu Yang. This aura was really earth-shattering. It was the typical demeanor of a supreme martial artist. Good. Luo Kadi jumped up and shouted evilly. Beat him up. Before he could finish, he heard Chu Yang say, Good. Then let's beat him up. Everyone was stunned. Under the attack of a supreme martial artist, he actually still spoke calmly. The next moment there was a loud bang. Jimo's body flew backward like a rocket. With his butt facing backward, his speed was actually as fast as lightning. Luo Kadi cheered loudly. Good movement technique. Then, he suddenly realized that Gmo didn't seem to have practiced such a backward movement technique before. At this moment, Gmo only felt that his lower abdomen was about to flip over. He didn't expect that just because he had underestimated the enemy a little, he would get a solid kick from Boss. At this moment, he was kicked so hard that he couldn't catch his breath. He could only fly backward fiercely. The kick. A faint shadow suddenly appeared in front of Gmo, and a kick landed accurately on Gmo's wrist. Second Master G let out a miserable cry, and his sword flew out of his hand, shooting straight up into the sky with a streak of light behind it. Then, Gmo suffered another kick on his lower abdomen. Even though he was retreating fiercely, he still instinctively bent forward like a prawn. Bam! Chu Yang's fist hit Second Master G's left eye socket. Second Master G's head jerked backward violently. As he did so, his right eye suffered another punch. Instantly, a brand new giant panda appeared out of nowhere. Then his body finally got close to balance. He suffered another punch on his chin. Second Master G yelled, "Fuck this dog ant. I'll change it." Chuyang didn't care whether he changed it or not. Instantly, his limbs moved like the wind, as if he was hitting a sandbag. The only thing Gmo could do was to hold his head with both hands and scream miserably. His body, shoulders, chest, vest, thighs, lower abdomen, buttocks, legs. His face had all suffered from Chu Yang's all-around concentrated storm-like beatings. From beginning to end, Second Master G only made one move. Then, he played the role of a sandbag from beginning to end. And he didn't even land on the ground. Just like that, he was beaten into a pulp. This kind of intense and tragic scene made the other three people, who were fighting for the chance to fight, break out in a cold sweat. They were all dumbfounded as they looked on, feeling lucky in their hearts. Fuck. Luckily, I was a step slower just now. Otherwise, the one being beaten up in the air right now would be me. I'll change it. I'll change it, boss. Gmo shouted, almost crying. Why? Why did you change it? As Chuyang asked. He had already thrown 7 or 8 punches and more than 10 kicks. Aren't you a supreme martial artist? Aren't you very awesome? Didn't you want to teach me a lesson? Come, don't cover your face. Come. Let's fight, brother. Gmo really wanted to cry. Boss, I was wrong. His heart was filled with endless regret. My mouth is so cheap, don't mention it. Besides, it wasn't just that. Last night, after Gmo went back, he bragged to Huyan Aobua that he was going to beat Boss up today. Huyan Aobua excitedly expressed that she wanted to watch the fight. Of course, Gmo was happy to let his sweetheart see his heroic bearing. Therefore he told her, just follow us. So now, Huyan Aobua was also secretly watching. Second Master G even had the heart to die. I got a bunch of spectators, so they're here to watch me make a fool of myself. Why bother? With a bang, Second Master G fell down like a broken gunny sack. He curled up on the ground, groaning on the ground with a bloody nose and a swollen face. While Ao Shiyan and the rest were dumbfounded in disbelief, they saw that on both sides of Second Master G's forehead, 2 big bumps appeared at a speed visible to the naked eye. This shape was exactly like 2 dragon horns. Shiyan said that he wanted to beat him into a dragon head. Chuyang was standing not far away, so I fulfilled his wish. The 4 of them didn't say anything, their faces full of black lines. Ao Shiyan almost wanted to slap himself a few times. Who asked you to be so cheap? What dragon head? Who's next? Chuyang was obviously very excited. Little wolf. Come, let me test you. Luo Kadi's little face instantly turned pale. He shrank back continuously, a fawning smile on his face. Boss is indeed boss, really mighty. I'm impressed. As for this test, forget it. Forget it? That won't do. Chuyang shook his head like a rattle drum. If you're not coming over, I'm going over. Luo Kadi let out a strange cry and broke into a run. Chuyang let out a long laugh and flew over at lightning speed. Gu Duxing. Ao Shiyun and Xie Danxiong dodged to the sides with great tacit understanding. Gu Duxing even grabbed Luo Kadi's back while he was at it. Luo Kadi let out a cry of surprise, but he had already been caught up. He cursed angrily. You guys are really good brothers. Fuck. It was useless even if he cursed. Chu Yang had already come over. Luo Kadi held his breath and quickly channeled his energy to fight. Not long after, Luo Kadi, Ao Shiyun, Xie Danxiong and GMO lay together. The 4 dragon heads were lined up side by side, really like 4 huge dragons moving together, extremely mighty. Chapter 1231. Among the brothers, the one who was beaten up the most was definitely not the first challenger, GMO. It was Duke Xie Ao Shiyun, especially Ao Shiyun the instigator, because he said, "How can a divine dragon bloodline not have a dragon head?" Besides, he was the one who suggested to turn Chu Yang into a dragon head in the beginning. How could Chu Yang let him go? Therefore, Ao Shiyun's dragon horns were the most majestic. Baidu's search for Pig Island novel. Therefore, Duke Xie begged for mercy as he fought. "Today is my father's birthday. Save me some face." He only got this reply. "You have more face when you transform into a divine dragon." After fighting 4 people in a row, Chu Yang was in a good mood. In fact, he was very happy. Other than GMO, who turned into a dragon head in one move, because he underestimated his opponent. The other 3 all gave Chu Yang different degrees of great surprise. Everyone's cultivation was the same, but their battle tactics were completely different. This was what made Chu Yang the happiest. Each of them had their own style. Even if they were together every day, they would never be assimilated by each other. Baidu's search for Pig Island novel. His self-awareness was very strong. This was also the most basic and important foundation to become a top-level martial artist. Luo Kadi's lone wolf-like attacking style and his ferocious sword techniques surprised Chu Yang. Fighting with Luo Kadi was like facing a pack of wolves in a boundless forest. Extremely hungry wolves, biting from all directions. If one was not careful, they would be torn into pieces. When Xie Danxiong's viburnum flowers bloomed, they were the most beautiful in the world. This kind of dazzling and dreamlike technique was an eye-opener for Chu Yang. When the viburnum flowers bloomed, it was like a fairy scattering flowers, colorful and colorful. She was indeed beautiful beyond compare. However, behind this extreme beauty was an unparalleled murderous intent. Chu Yang's clothes were cut in more than 10 places. It was caused by Xie Danxiong's viburnum flowers. When Ao Shiyun's Divine Dragon War Manual was used, Chu Yang felt a great strain. This was the first time such a situation had happened in a battle with Chu Yang. Chu Yang was a peak sword saint. Under the suppression of their cultivation levels, he could already fight a second-grade supreme martial artist. And Ao Shiyun was only a first-grade supreme martial artist who had just advanced. Among the 4, only Ao Shiyun's Divine Dragon War Manual could. Chu Yang was somewhat confused. He couldn't see the direction clearly. However, this battle had greatly increased his confidence. The more he watched, the brighter his eyes became, and the stronger his fighting spirit became. Chu Yang's strength and sharpness were both top-notch sword cultivators. Both of them were fatally attractive to him. It caused the sword intent in his chest to move unhindered, and he thirsted for battle. Ao Shiyun and the others had already been defeated. There was only Gu Duxing left. Chu Yang was still standing there. He looked at Gu Duxing with a smile, the sword in his hand flashing. Chu Yang didn't move, and neither did Gu Duxing. However, sword energy suddenly surged in the arena. The surrounding flowers and plants all fell down neatly, the sword intent in their bodies. They both felt the same aura from each other. Even if people don't fight, even the sword had to fight. There are no 2 suns in the sky, and no 2 monarchs in a country. Similarly, in the land of the sword Tao, there was only one emperor. Chu Yang's eyes became sharper and more fervent. Gu Duxing straightened his body. Suddenly, there was a clanging sound in the air. He was originally standing as straight as a javelin. However, this straightening of his waist was like a peerless divine sword suddenly unsheathed. His expression and aura were completely different from just now. "Come on," Chu Yang said. "Come on," Gu Duxing said coldly. Chu Yang stood where he was without moving. Gu Duxing spread out his arms, and with a swoosh, Ao Xian and the other three were sent 100 feet away. Then he walked forward slowly. With every step he took, his sword intent became sharper. Boss, please advise me. Gu Duxing took 3 steps forward. I've been practicing the sword since I was young. I was lonely. Feeling depressed, I created the Sword of Solitude. In the lower 3 heavens, I met Boss, and my sword aura changed to become the Sword of Solitude. Although I'm lonely, I want to use my loneliness as a guardian. Then I met Tu Qianhao. In a battle of life and death, I comprehended Tu Qianhao's Sword of Oblivion. Sword of Oblivion. Sword of Oblivion. Gu Duxing said lightly. These 2 sword techniques are gathered in me. They haven't been unified until now. Today's battle is, firstly, to satisfy my craving and fight for supremacy in the Sword Dao. Secondly, to let Boss experience my Sword of Solitude. My Sword of Oblivion. My Heart of Solitude. My Heaven of Oblivion. At the end of his speech, Gu Duxing suddenly raised his head. His eyes shone brightly like 2 long swords that had already been unsheathed. Chu Yang smiled lightly. Duxing, I know you've always wanted to experience the sword techniques. Today, I'll fulfill this wish of yours. Chu Yang said this through telepathy. He had already sensed that Huyan Aobua and the others were watching this battle. Therefore, he was still cautious and didn't say it out loud. Upon hearing the word Sword of Tribulations, Gu Duxing's sword intent surged. His battle intent soared. Suddenly he let out a long howl. With a howl, heaven and earth shook. The clouds in the sky were suddenly sliced into pieces and scattered in all directions, as if they had encountered sharp wind blades. Today the wish of a lifetime was fulfilled. Clang! The black dragon sword appeared in Gu Duxing's hand with a bone-piercing coldness and bleakness. Then Gu Duxing strode forward. He walked step by step with heavy footsteps. But every step he took covered at least 100 feet of space. But after taking 5 steps like this, he still hadn't reached Chu Yang. Chu Yang reached out, and a long sword appeared in his hand. He didn't use the Sword of Tribulations. There was no need for the Sword of Tribulations in a spar between brothers. A bolt of lightning suddenly appeared in the sky. Gu Duxing's voice rang out. Heavenly Solitude. A mighty sword intent, with a bleak solitude poured down in torrents. Sword aura crisscrossed, and enveloped a radius of 100 feet. Gu Duxing rose with his sword. His black robes fluttered as he turned into a beam of black light that shot through the sky. Just this move of his caused the expressions of Ao Xian, Xie Danxiong and the others to change. But it made them realize at once. Gu Duxing had never used his full strength against them in their usual spars. Chu Yang smiled lightly and shouted through telepathy. Sword of Tribulations. 1 ray of cold light pierces 10,000 feet. With a swing of his sword, a dazzling cold light suddenly appeared in the sky. Then, it suddenly dispersed into 10,000 rays of cold light, covering the sky and earth and whistling toward Chu Yang. Gu Duxing was energized. He shouted, Heavenly Solitude. Heavenly Solitude. Heavenly Solitude. 3 consecutive moves. Suddenly released. The whole world seemed to have suddenly become bleak and desolate at this moment. The 10,000 rays of cold light collided with the Sword of Solitude. Both of their bodies shook at the same time. The colors of autumn actually floated backward at the same time. Gu Duxing was shocked. The Sword of Tribulations was indeed extremely powerful. It was just 1 move, but he actually needed 3 moves to neutralize it. While retreating in the air, Gu Duxing suddenly changed from retreating to ascending. He shouted, Heavenly Solitude. A mighty sword of solitude shot out in a straight line. This move made Chu Yang's heart tremble. This move of Gu Duxing's even carried an aura of Dao. Chu Yang's black-robed figure turned around in the air as he retreated. He shouted through telepathy, Sword of Tribulations. What's the harm in slaughtering the world? At the same time, a sharp sword aura was also unleashed. It met Gu Duxing's Heavenly Solitude in the air. With a soft pop, the Heavenly Solitude Sword of Solitude scattered. That sword aura of what's the harm in slaughtering the world. Although more than half of it was eliminated, the remaining momentum did not change. It rushed straight toward Gu Duxing. Impressive, Gu Duxing exclaimed in his heart. He shouted, Earth of Solitude. He made another move to neutralize this move. He was currently one level higher than Chu Yang, and an important one at that. He was a sword saint, but he was a sword supremacy. However, he was actually at a disadvantage against the Sword of Tribulations. Immediately after, the follow-up moves of Chu Yang's Sword of Tribulations came endlessly like rolling waves. A sharp will buried deep does not change, gathering the wind and clouds to become the emperor, famous for eternity, whistling winds and clouds from the west and east. By the time the two moves of the Calamity Sword cut off the sentimental traveler of the mortal world, where the edge of the sword reaches, everything ends. Gu Duxing's Sword of Solitude had already been used up. The three solitudes of heaven, earth, and man merged into one and became Heaven and Earth of Solitude and Heaven and Man of Solitude. But when Chu Yang's move of Iron Wall and Bronze Wall fighting not over appeared, Gu Duxing's Sword of Solitude was finally completely defeated. He retreated abruptly and went straight up in the air. The farther he retreated, the smaller he became in the air, almost becoming a black dot. Then, he came down from the air with awe. His sword flashed, and an inexplicable aura spread down. Gu Duxing sighed. A sword to the peak. He took 2 steps in the air, and the sword light carried with it a desolate and heavy aura. Such an aura seemed to be able to make one completely forget the past, and enter a wonderful state. Chu Yang shouted, "What a sword of oblivion! Look at me. What more can I ask for in this life?" Their swords clashed densely in the air, and the sound was dense and fragmented, like the wind blowing on a lotus, or the rain hitting a banana leaf. Gu Duxing's body spun as he retreated, and then spun as he advanced. He said slowly, "Life and death, victory and defeat," vanishing in the blink of an eye. The aura of emptiness of heaven and earth was even more intense in this move. Chu Yang flipped over, and the sword aura summoned in the air. Suddenly, the wind and clouds surged, as if gathering here at this moment, wanting to fill up the emptiness of heaven and earth that Gu Duxing had created. It was the gathering of clouds and clouds. With a boom, sword aura flew out, as if a bomb had exploded. Ao Shiyan and the other 3 screamed and flew away in all directions. During the battle just now, both Chu Yang and Gu Duxing had been controlling their strength and not letting it leak out. But now both of them could no longer control it. The trees in a radius of hundreds of feet fell down neatly. The sword aura flew everywhere, slashing deep sword marks one after another on the mountain rocks. Gu Duxing held his sword horizontally in front of his chest and said disappointedly, "Where can I find a soulmate in the world?" He turned around, and when he was about to turn back, the sword aura spread out in a radius of 1,000 feet. "When I want to turn back, I've already forgotten." Chu Yang perked up, and the 2 moves, Hidden Edge, Hidden Light, and Unending Night and Unending Sun and Moon, were launched consecutively. Right at this moment, he finally discovered where Gu Duxing's biggest problem was. Devotion. Too much devotion. Too much devotion was the flaw. Chapter 1232. The battle with Gu Duxing lasted for an hour. Whether it was Gu Duxing or Ao Shiyan, Xie Danqiong, and the rest who were watching, all of them felt satisfied from the bottom of their hearts. Satisfying. It was really satisfying. In the end, when Chu Yang used the 2 moves of "I'd rather go into hiding for the rest of my life" in exchange for the killing frenzy of Green Heaven, Gu Duxing finally couldn't continue, and the 2 of them stopped fighting. If they continued fighting, it would be a battle of life and death. Baidu searched Pig Island novel. Long after the battle ended, the sword aura was still wreaking havoc in the air, whistling here and there. Other than Chu Yang and Gu Duxing, no one else could enter this place. After a long time, Gu Duxing retracted the heart sword intent and let out a long sigh. "Have you realized?" Chu Yang nodded. "Yes, there is indeed a particular flaw, a huge flaw." Gu Duxing frowned and thought hard. "I've always been puzzled. Why can't they be unified? If I could combine the 2 sword intents into one, I'm afraid that you would only be able to fight me when you're at the same level as me. But now, you're 1 level lower than me, and I'm at a complete disadvantage, unable to fight back." Chu Yang said, "Yes, both of your sword intents are very powerful, especially your Sword of Oblivion, which is close to the Tao state. But you can't defeat me whose cultivation is lower than yours. I'm not as talented as you, and it's useless. Although the tribulation sword technique is powerful, you're a sword supremacy and can handle it. But you still can't win, ultimately because, Chu Yang said word by word, you're too engrossed. Too engrossed? Gu Duxing was confused. Yes, when you use the sword of solitude, you're fully engrossed. When you use the sword of oblivion, you're also fully focused. But the more so, the more a natural and irreparable gap appears in these two sword techniques. Chu Yang said. Gu Duxing seemed to understand something, but he still couldn't grasp the main point. He asked specifically, you're too persistent. So, when you use the sword, you want to be perfect. But it is precisely because you have always wanted to be perfect that you are unable to truly achieve perfection. Because you've trapped yourself. Chu Yang frowned and said, let's take the most obvious example. For example, children playing games. The game itself isn't important, but as long as you immerse yourself in it and reach the point where you forget yourself, no matter what game it is, you will be able to enjoy yourself. Because the game itself is for pleasure. When you feel pleasure, you have achieved the goal of the game. You don't have to care about the game itself because the game serves the mood, and not the mood serves the game. Gu Duxing was suddenly enlightened. I understand now. I remember that in the land of martial arts there are, and everyone knows that. It is, the body is the heaven and the earth, and the heart is the heaven and the earth. If there is no heaven, there is no me, and if there is no me, there is no heaven. Chu Yang chuckled. Everyone takes it as a saying, but he wouldn't think about it. It is precisely these most ordinary words that are the most profound of martial principles. Unity of heaven and man. The state of selflessness. It wasn't that he had lost his sense of self. Instead, it was a realm. The realm isn't the self, and it's also not a person. Chu Yang said heavily, you're treating the realm as a person. It's that simple. Gu Duxing was sweating all over, but his eyes were shining brightly. He said, I really understand now. Chu Yang smiled and walked a few steps away, leaving Gu Duxing alone on the scene. Gu Duxing thought for a long time. Finally, he began to draw his sword and dance, faster and faster. This time, even Ao Xieyun and the others, who were far away, could feel that the trajectory of Gu Duxing's sword moves this time was full of traces of spirituality. The four of you. Chu Yang went over and looked at GMO, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. I really want to exclude you. GMO's face was bitter, and he pursed his lips. I suffered a great loss. I underestimated the enemy. Yes, that's right. Underestimated the enemy. I was just about to say that. Chu Yang nodded. GMO, have you seen a lion before? GMO was confused. Yes, I have. Why? Then have you seen a rabbit? Chu Yang continued. I've seen one before. Then do you think the lion is stronger or the rabbit is stronger? Asked Chu Yang. This question made even Ao Xieyun and Xie Danqiong feel like laughing. How is that even comparable? GMO scratched his head. The rabbit is the lion's food. Isn't that obvious? Chu Yang nodded. But have you noticed that the lion catches the rabbit? He took in a long breath. There's a saying that goes, a lion catches a rabbit with all its might. The lion's strength is thousands of times that of a rabbit, and its body is dozens of times bigger. But it still catches the rabbit with all its might. What right do you have to underestimate the enemy? What right do you have to underestimate the enemy? Chu Yang said sternly. Underestimating the enemy is a crime. A capital crime. Cold sweat dripped down GMO's head. Since ancient times, many heroes have died in the hands of opponents who were much weaker than them, because they underestimated the enemy. There are many such lessons in the heavens, but you still make the mistake of underestimating the enemy. I've been wandering for so long, and almost all the opponents who died in my hands were stronger than me, but they all died under my sword, because they underestimated the enemy. Chu Yang said sternly, if you don't change this mistake of yours one day, you will die in the hands of others. Suddenly, he opened his mouth and shouted, do you understand? GMO only felt that his chaotic mind suddenly became clear. He said yes. Chu Yang's shout was a kind of supreme spiritual secret technique, enlightening wisdom, whether it was GMO who bore the brunt of it, or Ao Xian, Xie Danxiong and Luo Kadi who were beside him. They all felt their minds become much clearer in an instant. Little wolf, you didn't do anything wrong. Your shortcomings are still the same as before, a little reckless. Also, you have a lot of desperate moves. Chu Yang pondered and said to Luo Kadi, you like wolves, and your battle tactics are also similar to the style of wolves. But you have to remember, when wolves, especially packs of wolves, fight, the alpha wolf usually stands on the high ground and commands. It won't participate in the battle personally, although it won't participate in the battle. As long as the alpha wolf still exists, the pack of wolves will never disperse. But in your battle, you even rushed up with the alpha wolf. Chu Yang patted his shoulder. Think about it carefully. Luo Kadi was convinced. Yes, these few words had simply spoken to his heart, especially when he used Luo Kadi's favorite wolf pack as an analogy. It made him completely understand the meaning of his words. It was more effective than any other explanation. The lethality of the viburnum flower lies in its illusory and ethereal nature. You are already illusory enough, but the purpose is too strong. Therefore, although your viburnum flower is beautiful enough when it blooms, but it has an obvious murderous aura, Chu Yang said to Xie Danxiong. If the opponent is an expert, he only needs to close his eyes and sense the direction of your murderous aura, and he will be able to break your viburnum flower. Xie Danxiong pondered and said, hide the murderous aura? Yes, Chu Yang said. Only by hiding the murderous aura, only by leaving behind a dazzling illusion, in full bloom, is the real viburnum flower. Xie Danxiong frowned. I have also thought about this problem before. But if I want to hide the murderous aura, I need to hide the murderous intent in my heart. But if I don't have any murderous intent, how can I defeat the enemy? Chu Yang nodded. I gave an example to the little wolf in GMO just now. Now, I will give you another example. Danxiong, I don't know if you have noticed, but there is a kind of flower. When it blooms, it is very beautiful and fragrant. But once a small animal or bird is attracted by the fragrance, when it lands in the heart of the flower, this flower will close in an instant and devour the flying animal, destroying it. Xie Danxiong's eyes widened. I know. This is a murderous flower. Yes. Chu Yang smiled slightly. The viburnum flower is another kind of murderous flower. If you practice the viburnum flower to the level of a murderous flower, you will be able to move unhindered in the upper three heavens and protect yourself. Xie Danxiong fell into deep thought for a long time. What about me? Seeing that Gu Duxing and Xie Danxiong had all benefited, Ao Xian couldn't help but be excited and couldn't wait to ask. You? Chu Yang smiled bitterly. He only didn't understand Ao Xian's attack method. Maybe I will in the future, but I really can't see anything from you now, because you can only unleash the greatest power when you use the Divine Dragon Secret Manual. So I won't comment on your previous martial arts. But I don't understand the Divine Dragon Secret Manual. Chu Yang said. Oh, I see. Ao Xian was a little disappointed. But I have a vague feeling, I don't know if it's right. Chu Yang said. When you use it, although the moves are very skillful and smooth, it gives me a very childish feeling. Very childish? Ao Xian's whole body shook. Yes, it's like a child who hasn't grown up, or who hasn't grown up yet, waving a saber that only an adult can use. Chu Yang made another analogy and said, it's beyond my power. Ao Xian fell into deep thought. Yes, I have that feeling too. But what's strange is that I don't feel strained. That's what really puzzles me. Generally speaking, when using a technique or move that one's body can't support, there should be a feeling that one's strength is being drained. But I didn't. I think there's only one explanation. Chu Yang pondered and said, it's your bloodline. On one hand, your bloodline has awakened, but on the other hand, your bloodline hasn't fully awakened. Ao Xian nodded. He guessed so too, but he didn't know how to fully awaken it. As Chu Yang spoke, he suddenly thought of something. He took out a golden stone and said, look at this. This is something I took from the treasure vault in the lower three heavens. I only know that there's a strange power in it. I can feel it now, but I can't use it. I don't know what it's used for. Chu Yang said softly. I only know that this is called Golden Dragon Jade. When I thought of your bloodline, I took it out. When he looked up, he realized that Ao Xian was already stunned. He looked at the head-sized golden dragon jade in Chu Yang's hands with shining eyes. His body even trembled a little. This is a dragon core. When Ao Xian saw it, a strange feeling rose in his heart. Now that he blurted out this sentence, Ao Xian dared to swear that he didn't know the two words dragon core at all before this. And even after saying it out loud, he still didn't know what a dragon core was used for. Chapter 1233. Dragon Core. Chu Yang was stunned. What's the use of it? When Ao Xian saw the dragon core, he suddenly felt his mind churn. As he sorted it out, he said, the dragon core is where the essence of a divine dragon lies. When every divine dragon is destroyed, all the essence in its body will automatically gather and form a core. On the outside, it will be wrapped in a crystal formed by the dragon soul, making it look like a piece of jade on the surface. No matter how much time has passed, it will still exist. This is also the most important inheritance of the dragon race. Because a young dragon needs too much time to grow up, and the fertility rate of the dragon race is very low to begin with. If not for this, the dragon race would have long been extinct. After the dragon core is formed, other races can't use it at all except for the dragon race. It can only be treated as a beautiful piece of jade to be admired. Therefore, the value of this thing to the world is not great, but to the dragon race, it is the most valuable treasure. Chu Yang finally understood. So it's this kind of thing. Then, he raised his hand and threw the dragon core over. Here you go. Ao Xian was shocked and hurriedly caught the dragon core. Why are you so careless with such a valuable thing? Just throw it away like that? Baidu search Pig Island novel, there was a hint of indignation. Didn't you say that this thing can't be destroyed? Chu Yang raised his eyebrows and said, it won't break even if I drop it. I've dropped it many times. Ao Xian's heart ached so much that the flesh on his face was twitching. Although you gave this dragon core to me, I really want to beat you up after hearing what you said. Haha. Chu Yang laughed. How long do you need to absorb this thing? How much can you improve after absorbing it? Ao Xian smiled bitterly. You think too highly of me. The dragon core can only be formed by an adult dragon. The power inside is so strong that it's practically unparalleled. With my current strength, I can't break the skin at all. Even if I can, it will explode instantly. It will also explode in an instant. Ao Xian pouted. Just a poof sound like a fart. Then I turned into the shape of a fart. Luo Kadi and GMO winked and both of them laughed. Chu Yang couldn't help but laugh. Then keep it first. When you can absorb it, absorb it. That's the only way. Ao Xian calculated for a while. I reckon that when I reach Supreme Martial Artist level, I'll have the ability to absorb it. Alright. Chu Yang nodded solemnly. As the saying goes, God knows when. Xie Danxiong burst into laughter. When they finally left, the sky was already close to noon. The banquet was about to start, so he wasn't going back. GMO looked back 3 times with each step. His face was full of guilt, and his heart was at a loss. After the person left, Yang Jun finally appeared. As soon as he appeared, someone started to make things difficult for him. Aobua, what's the matter with you? Xie Danxiong's wife and Huyan Aobua were already quite familiar with each other. At this moment, of course, she wouldn't be polite with her words. You brought us here just to let us see our man become a dragon head? Huyan Aobo's face was flushed red as she tried to defend herself. It's not, it's because GMO said that today, he could show off his power and teach Big Brother a lesson. So I came to see. Ha! The women laughed together and rolled their eyes. Well, we saw it. Huyan Aobo's face was red. Miss Aobua had never been so embarrassed in her life. Now that she was provoked, she couldn't control her anger. She rushed forward and shouted, GMO, you bastard. Stop right there. In front, GMO was rushing with his tail between his legs. When he heard that, he was shocked. Big brother, let's go quickly. You're jealous. Chu Yang squinted his eyes. I haven't settled the score with you yet. Why did you find so many young soldiers to watch the battle? You think you're going to win, right? No wonder you were the first to fight. You even put on such a cool front. Everyone laughed. Jimo's face was red as he pleaded, "Big brother. If we don't go now, it'll be too late. All right, let's go quickly." Chuyang gave him a look and said, "But you stay." Before he finished, Ao Xian and Luo Kadi attacked at the same time, firmly suppressing GMO and pressing him to the ground. GMO screamed loudly, "Big brother! I'll die. I'll really die." As he spoke, Huyan Aobwa had already arrived. Her burly body rushed over like a bull, stomping the ground loudly. "GMO! You bastard! Where are you going?" Ao Xian grabbed GMO, who couldn't resist, and laughed loudly. "Aobwa, I'll leave GMO to you. The two of you can slowly whisper sweet nothings to each other." Then, with a shake of his hand, Second Master G was thrown out like a ball, towards Huyan Aobwa. GMO screamed out in an extremely miserable manner, "Brothers like you, I GMO am truly, ah." Then it was replaced by screams. Ao Xian and the rest, together with Chu Yang, laughed and went back in a relaxed manner, not even looking back. Behind them, the sounds of beating and GMO's miserable begging could be heard continuously. They went further and further away, until they couldn't be heard anymore. Ao Tianqing's birthday party was very popular and grand. Everyone drank to their heart's content. Halfway through, GMO came back with a bruised nose and a swollen face. His mouth was accidentally punched by Miss Huyan, and one side was swollen. Furthermore, he wasn't allowed to use his energy to heal himself. But what kind of person was Second Master G? How could he be stumped by such a small matter? He found a thin tube, and inserted it into the wine cup. Then he sucked on the tube with the side of his mouth that wasn't swollen. Once someone said cheers, Second Master G immediately sucked hard. With a sizzle sound, the entire cup of wine was gone. Convenient and fast. How thick was Second Master G's skin in the face of the strange gazes from around him? He didn't care about them at all. Furthermore, he could still stand up and look left and right while drinking with the tube in his mouth, looking around proudly. There was a feeling of, "I'm the only one sober when everyone is drunk." The expressions on Chu Yang and the rest's faces were too horrible to look at. They all turned to the side, with an expression of, "I don't know him, ah." It was too embarrassing. At the banquet, Ao Tianqing directly announced his marriage. Furthermore, this Ao clan leader was indeed a sly old fox. He said it so smoothly that not a single drop of water leaked out. "Today is my birthday. Thank you all for coming to support me. Let me first toast to everyone. I'm sincerely grateful. Other than that, I'll announce another shocking piece of good news. The world-famous second pavilion master, Gu Duxing, will marry the Gu clan's young miss in 7 days. At that time, I'll hold a grand banquet in the Gu clan and invite all the heroes in the world." Yes, I'm really old and muddle-headed. I almost forgot a world-shaking piece of news. Ao Tianqing patted his forehead in self-reproach. He was in high spirits. Pavilion Master Gu is not only the second pavilion master of the Heavenly Armament Pavilion. Furthermore, he's the first supreme martial artist to appear in the entire 3 heavens. Supreme martial artist. These 4 words directly shocked the entire hall into silence. 3 heavens. A supreme martial artist actually appeared? A legendary supreme martial artist? Moreover, for the sake of the order of the 3 heavens, for the sake of everyone being able to peacefully get rich, for the sake of peace and safety, well, this old man, together with the Heavenly Armament Pavilion, the Dark Bamboo, the Gu clan, the Luo clan, the Dong clan, the Ji clan, the Xie clan, and the other clans, we have a joint discussion. We are preparing to take advantage of the Pavilion Lord Gu's wedding and the gathering of the heroes of the world to determine the situation of the 3 heavens. To sort out the order of the 3 heavens. Ao Tianqing sighed. The 3 heavens are too chaotic now. There are too many forces. They need to be eliminated. At this point, the people below held their breaths. Determine the situation of the 3 heavens from now on? Sort out the order? How? Who needs to be eliminated? This is too important. Ao Tianqing coughed a few times and said, "As everyone knows, this is a wedding. Of course, we need to send gifts. With Pavilion Master Gu's status, he won't be interested in ordinary gold and silver. Everyone, don't you think so?" Yes. Many people below curled their lips and shouted. What the fuck? You won't even be interested in gold and silver. Yes, so everyone will reluctantly send some heavenly treasures as a token of appreciation. Or rare and precious metals. Those are useless to everyone, right? Clan Master Ao said the most sanctimonious words. However, I'll solemnly declare that each force is only allowed to send one. No more. If anyone sends more than that, our clans will be angry with you. Countless people curled their lips. Heavenly treasures. Even one is hard to find. He's actually afraid that we'll send too many? Do we look like 250 people? Useless to us? Who said that? How do you know it's useless for us to keep it? Of course, everyone knows that although the Gu clan is big, they don't have much surplus food. In order to prevent people from cheating, we set up a heaven and earth treasure inspection team. The group of people cursed in their hearts, scam for food and drink? How many people in the three heavens had such guts? The Heavenly Armament Pavilion's pavilion master was getting married, and there was actually someone who dared to cheat him out of food and drink? Even if you're joking, you can't do that. Yes, the inspection team will evaluate these heavenly treasures according to their value, and rank them first, second, third, and unrated. As a show of sincerity, our clans will cooperate with the friends who give us first-class gifts, and treat them as friends, right? G. The magpie imitates the female Sun Dianzheng. Huinyo Zhaochen magpie imitates the female Sun Dianzheng. Huinyo Zhaochen magpie imitates the female Sun Dian 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 G. It's such an insult to give me a mediocre gift at the most important moment of my life. This was simply an extremely heinous provocation. We are all men. If we put ourselves in your shoes, who can endure such humiliation? This is trampling on the faces of the 8 great clans, the Heavenly Armament Pavilion, and the Dark Bamboo at the same time. We will not tolerate such people. Absolutely not. Ao Tianqing looked at the crowd and sincerely asked for their opinions. Don't you think so? Right. Everyone in the hall pinched their noses and shouted bitterly at the same time. Yes. Ao Tianqing stroked his beard and smiled. My friends, you're all reasonable. Today is Vice Moderator Ben Xian's birthday. Let us wish our Vice Moderator a happy day. In these few months, Vice Moderator Ben Xian has been conscientious and hardworking. That's why his comments are so popular and harmonious. Chapter 1234. At the Gu family's wedding reception area, Heavenly Treasures reception. These nondescript words were hung up ostentatiously. A large flag of 70 to 80 feet in length and width was erected hundreds of feet high, flying fiercely in the air. The worst thing was that these words were written in an extremely ugly manner. Among the brothers, there were definitely many who were good at writing. Mo Tianji, Xiedan Xiong and Ao Xiayan could be said to be calligraphy masters of their generation. But the problem was that everyone wanted to write, so they played rock, paper, scissors. The result left everyone flabbergasted. In the end, the one who won was the worst writer, the most ignorant and incompetent, the most gluttonous and lazy GMO. Second Master G walked with a majestic posture, holding a brush as if he was waving a sword in battle. He waved his brush in a crooked manner, big and small. Every time Gu Duxing saw this large flag, he would feel his calves twitching as he cursed in his stomach. Every time he saw GMO, he wanted to kill him alive. Other people's armies still couldn't break through Gu Duxing's cold face. But Second Master Ji only needed to write a few words to do it easily. How could such a large flag, and it was made of thick satin, be blown up without wind? It wouldn't work even if the wind wasn't strong enough. Looking at the flag drooping like a dead fish, Grand Duke Ao Xian was furious. He sent out 10 Emperor-level experts to create wind with their palms. They had to see the flag fluttering in the wind every moment. The 10 Emperor-level experts' faces turned bitter. In the 3 heavens, Emperor-level experts were already so awesome that people looked up to them. Who would have thought that they would be reduced to hairdryers today? Ao Xian and Xiedan Xiong were in charge of the acceptance and bookkeeping. Heavenly Armament Pavilion shopkeeper Chu Yang was in charge of keeping them in the warehouse. As for GMO and Luo Kudi, they were in charge of scolding and praising people. Such an arrangement was really making the best use of everyone's talents. On the first afternoon of the acceptance team's opening, they received countless heavenly treasures. Ao Shiyun and Xia Danxiong, who were in charge of bookkeeping, each recorded 4 thick books. The leader of Little Pig Mountain sends a congratulatory gift, a 5,000-year-old snow ginseng, to congratulate Pavilion Master and Miss Gu on their marriage. The leader of Big Chicken Mountain sends a congratulatory gift, to congratulate Pavilion Master and Miss Gu. The leader of Giant Bull Gorge, the leader of Duck Slope. Chu Yang looked at the list. The corners of his mouth twitched. Motherfucker, what kind of names are these? Ao Shiyan judged as he accepted the gift. 2nd grade. 2nd class. 3rd class. Every time Ao Shiyan and Xia Danxiong called out 3rd class, GMO and Luo Kadi would immediately explode. They would fly into a rage and jump out to give them a good beating. Bastard. Are you here to disgust me? Bastard. Do you want to die? Dog ant. What the hell did you give me? Grandma. He's simply not up to standard. Every time this happened, the one who was beaten would feel extremely wronged. He wanted to cry but had no tears. He had already spent hundreds of thousands of taels. Outside, the people who were waiting in line to present their gifts were all deathly pale. Their legs were trembling, as if they were playing the pipa. My mother. This is too cruel. Nothing was too strange in this vast world. Who would get married this way? In just one afternoon, he had received more than 1,000 gifts, and the highest was a 2nd-class gift. Most of them were 3rd class. Only those who had an especially bad reputation and committed all kinds of evil deeds, no matter how good their gifts were judged as not up to standard. Anyway, no one knew what they had given. The name list of those who were not up to standard was immediately sent out. Then, all the big clans immediately began to hunt them down. Such swift and decisive action. Instantly, everyone kept quiet out of fear. On the first day, the leaders of all the big clans came one after another. All of their gifts were judged to be 1st class. In the afternoon, along with the thunderous sound of horse hooves, all the Dark Bamboo Hall leaders came one after another to present their gifts. Finally, Duke Yu came. Duke Yu's personal arrival caused a huge uproar. Furthermore, what was even more surprising was, Duke Yu came with his new wife to congratulate him. This caused everyone to feel even more terrified. Gu Duxing was the first person in history who could make Duke Yu of Dark Bamboo so solemn. In 7 days' time, it was equivalent to scraping a layer of land from 3 days' time. They received a total of 17,000 sets of heavenly treasures and rare metals. Such a huge number made Chu Yang a little shocked. Furthermore, there were many treasures among them. This day was the wedding day. Within the territory of the Gu clan, the 10-mile-long streets were paved with red silk. Flowers were everywhere. Lanterns and colored banners were everywhere. Everyone was beaming with joy. Along with the howl of the wolf sword supreme martial artist Luo Kadi, an earth-shattering salute sounded at the same time. Banners suddenly unfolded in the sky. Congratulations to Gu Duxing and Gu Miaoling on their wedding day. Chu Yang is here to congratulate you. Heaven is here to congratulate you. Congratulations to Gu Duxing and Gu Miaoling on their wedding day. Dark Bamboo is here to congratulate you. Grow old together. Raise your eyebrows. Congratulations to Gu Duxing and Gu Miaoling on their wedding day. Ao Clan Xia Yin is here to congratulate you. Congratulations to Gu Duxing and Gu Miaoling on their wedding day. Xia Clan's Danxiong is here to congratulate you. Luo Clan is here to congratulate you. Tianji is here to congratulate you. Amidst the clamor, a sword light suddenly soared into the sky. The biting cold sword aura completely materialized. 4 lines of big words appeared arrogantly in midair just like that. Walking the world alone is at the prime of my life. Childhood sweethearts, a lifetime of love. I am the hero of the world. The sword light swept across the sky. With the sky as paper, the sword light as ink, and the sword as brush, 28 big words were written. They actually didn't dissipate for a long time. As if countless lightning bolts had written big words, they appeared in midair. It was Duke Yu's work. This sword light seemed to have kicked off the curtains. The brothers immediately imitated it. For a moment, the sword aura in the sky was everywhere. The supreme martial artist's charm was everywhere, shuttling back and forth, causing the surrounding hundreds of miles to tremble in fear. Amidst the lively atmosphere, the bridal escort team began to set off. Gu Duxing was dressed in red and wore a big red flower. Riding on a snow-white horse, he was the first to ride out of the Gu clan's gate. The bridal escort team was huge. Chu Yang, Imo Tianji Ao Xian Xie Danxiong, GMO, Luo Kadi and so on. Gu Duxing rode on a white horse at the front, indicating that they would grow old together. The brothers circled around the sea of flowers and then slowly returned, entering the Gu clan from another door. Amidst the sounds of gongs and drums, the bride was brought out, circled around, and then returned to the Gu clan. Everyone was very serious during this process. Only when they came back after picking up the bride, GMO and Luo Kudi puffed up their cheeks. They couldn't hold it in any longer, and actually laughed out loud. Then there was a burst of laughter, coupled with whistles and howls. It was a mess. On this day, the Gu clan's wine was brought out at a high price. For a moment, the smell of wine filled the air within a radius of 500 miles. Everyone drank until they were dead drunk. All the wine in the Gu clan's territory was used up. The Gu clan had stored many years of good wine. They all drank until the bottom of the jar was turned upside down. As a result, when the Gu clan master wanted to drink wine at night, he asked around and found that other than the wine left for the bride and groom, there was no wine left. Tens of thousands of people were partying, and they were all martial artists. Every one of them could only drink 3 to 5 caddies of wine. Those who could drink 20 to 30 caddies of wine, in this way, each person could drink 10 caddies of wine. That was a full 400,000 to 500,000 caddies of wine. Cough, this is nonsense. It seems to be the biggest liquor factory in our country. Cough cough, I don't know how much it produces. I don't know. That night, Luo Kadi wanted to go into the bridal chamber. However, he was punched and kicked several times by Gu Duxing. GMO drank too much early and disappeared without a trace. After chasing away this pack of wolves with great difficulty, Gu Duxing and Gu Miaoling entered the bridal chamber. The two of them whispered sweet nothings to each other for a long time. The two of them had been together since they were young. They didn't know how many twists and turns they had gone through. Now that they were finally together, they felt extremely happy and satisfied. Seeing that it was already late at night, the two of them were preparing to drink wine and go to bed. At this critical moment, someone suddenly coughed repeatedly, followed by someone crying out in pain. Then, Gu Duxing and Gu Miaoling were dumbfounded. They saw Second Master Ji struggling to use his hands and feet. He crawled out from under the bed, and there was a brand new urinal on his head. After he came out, he looked left and right, and scratched his head in confusion. Where is this? Gu Miaoling let out a scream. She was so embarrassed that she couldn't show her face. Gu Duxing's face was full of black lines. He grabbed GMO and dragged him out, punching and kicking him violently. GMO was extremely wronged. He defended himself repeatedly. I don't know either. I really don't know how I got there. I really don't know. It turned out that GMO only remembered that he was drunk. After that he lost his memory. He didn't know who restrained him, forced him into a state of tortoiseshell, and stuffed him under Gu Duxing's new bed. But at this point, how would Gu Duxing listen to his explanation? GMO turned into a dragon head again. He was directly thrown out by Gu Duxing, and this matter actually became an unsolved case. GMO clearly knew that it was definitely Chu Yang and the others who did it, but he didn't know who was so mischievous. He investigated openly and secretly, extorted a confession through torture and begged, but he still couldn't figure out who was so talented, until many years later, when Rue Budong got married and GMO was knocked out and stuffed under the bed again, did he vaguely remember that it was actually Mo Tianji, this sanctimonious person who did it. But before this, who would suspect Mo Tianji? They would rather suspect Chu Yang than Mo Tianji. These few days were exceptionally pleasant. Gu Duxing was a newlywed, so of course he was in high spirits. But the other brothers also had an exceptionally happy time with Chu Yang here. Everyone had enough fun and practiced martial arts. When they were tired of practicing, they drank and bragged. They were infinitely lazy. Of course, Mo Tianji was an exception. Mo Tianji was using this limited information to make inferences step by step. He was making plans step by step. When Chu Yang met him in the study, he realized that Mo Tianji had already sorted out the information about the big clans. There were dozens of types. They were sorted and put into the book. And Mo Tianji was still frowning and saying incomplete things. Chu Yang only took one look and immediately felt a headache coming on. He had never thought that someone's thinking could be so meticulous. Chapter 1235. Happy days always passed exceptionally quickly. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. Under the stirring of this wedding, the 3 days were completely purged. They became a single entity. The strong alliance between the Heavenly Armament Pavilion and the various clans, as well as the Dark Bamboo, was completely stabilized. Currently, they were transforming into a huge and powerful fighting group. There were only 5 days left before Chu Yang's 3-month time limit. Chu Yang took advantage of this period of time to use all the resources he had on him that could be used on his brothers. Only the sword spirit had not woken up, so he couldn't refine the incomplete version of the heavy pill. After the wedding, Duke Yu had a long talk with Chu Yang alone. After that, he left excitedly. He said that he was going back to prepare. Ao Xian came to look for Chu Yang. Actually, the Ao clan also has people in the upper 3 heavens. It's just that in the current situation, Chu Yang laughed bitterly. I've thought about this before. Back then, the Li clan had people in the upper 3 heavens. As the number 1 clan in the upper 3 heavens, how could the Ao clan not have any connections with the upper 3 heavens? However, Tribulation and the big clans are mortal enemies now, even if they had connections in the past. I'm afraid that's not enough. I was afraid that you would be put in a difficult position, so I didn't ask at all. Ao Xian was silent. What Chu Yang said was right. The current situation was already like this. Even if Chu Yang and the rest wouldn't deal with the big clans wouldn't let them off either. Under such a premise, no matter what connections they had in the past, they could pretty much ignore them. After all, it wasn't their own clan. On this day, Chu Yang gathered all his brothers, including Gu Duxing and Mo Tianji. I'm going back soon. Currently, the heavenly passage hasn't opened. I'm the only one who can pass through. Also, I can only come down this once. I'll tell you what I should. I've already told you all during this period of time. Don't slack off in the future. Make use of all the time to improve your strength. You can go to the Lake of Despair to train in the future. There, I'm not afraid of you guys fighting there. The next time we meet, when I get the Tribulation Sword fragment, the entire heavens will be fully opened. That's when the real chaos will arrive. I estimate this time. At most 1 more year. I request that, no matter what method you use, you must raise your strength to 4th grade Supreme Martial Artist. This is my minimum requirement. Even if you guys die, it's better than being killed by others. Because at that time, there will be no buffer. Everything will be real. Before the heaven passage opens, hide the important members of your family. Then, as soon as the passageway was opened, the first thing that happened was charge. The brothers listened in silence and nodded their heads. Mo Tianji pondered for a moment and said, Boss, after we go up, I'll contact you depending on the situation. If the situation is complicated and dangerous, we will make our own decisions. Chu Yang's eyes lit up. That's right. When the time comes, all of you will listen to the orders of the heavens. Once you go up, your identities will definitely be exposed. You must be aware of this. He understood Mo Tianji's meaning very well. Hiding in the dark was always much better than being exposed in the open. Mo Tianji's eyes revealed a trace of viciousness. He slowly nodded and said, Don't worry, big brother. I will make arrangements in advance. Whether it's the upper 3 heavens, or the future heaven imperial court that you mentioned, they're all humans. As long as it's a human, no matter if it's a conspiracy or something else, we're not afraid. Chu Yang nodded deeply. Then, he focused his eyes and looked at the faces of all his brothers. Brothers, when the time comes, we will laugh proudly in the heavens together. Gu Duxing and the others nodded slowly, their eyes shining. The things that I gave you. When you go back, Give them to your parents and your women to increase their strength. Unforeseen circumstances may happen. It's better for everyone to have some ability to protect themselves. Chu Yang exhorted. Yes. It was naturally the safest and most efficient for Chu Yang to increase their strength. However, it was the most comfortable for their families to do it themselves. The filial piety of their children and grandchildren was the greatest happiness of the elderly. The protection of their loved ones was a woman's dream. Chu Yang doing it and Ao Xieyun, and the rest doing it themselves were two completely different concepts and feelings. The meaning was completely different. Chu Yang fully considered everyone's feelings. Also, those purple crystals are enough for you to use at the highest efficiency for cultivation for a year and a half. Don't be reluctant to use them. Chu Yang smiled. Countless purple crystal mines in the upper three heavens are waiting for you. Early in the morning, Chu Yang packed his luggage. The sky was still dark. He quietly floated out of the window and silently rose hundreds of feet into the air. Standing high up in the sky, he looked at the houses in the night sky with warmth in his eyes. Inside, my brother is sleeping. He quietly glanced at it, and then his body spun in the air, disappearing without a trace. Chu Yang sped toward the passageway back to the upper three heavens at a speed that was hard to see with the naked eye. Brother, we will meet again. This time I am very happy, especially when Du Xing held a wedding because of my return. This made me even more touched. I will go back and lay down my foundation. I will wait for you to come. I will try my best, so that when you come up, it won't be too difficult. Chu Yang disappeared into the night sky without looking back. Boss has left. Du Xing stood in front of the window and retracted his aura. Only his eyes were focused on the night sky. The other brothers also did the same. Everyone's eyes were shining. A fourth-grade supreme martial artist in a year's time. They quickly settled the matters that needed to be settled. Then, the brothers would go to the Lake of Despair to achieve this goal. No matter what, one day, we will appear in the upper three heavens with great strength. Then, Boss Wu Shang and the rest wouldn't have to fight alone and without help. Chu Yang sped all the way and finally reached the passageway in the afternoon. Just as he was about to enter the passageway, he suddenly felt as if someone was spying on him. But when he quickly turned around, he didn't find anything. Chu Yang frowned and looked around, but found nothing. Seeing that there wasn't much time left, Chu Yang didn't have time to check carefully. He jumped into the passageway. The passageway quickly disappeared. The ground turned into a proof of entry. There wasn't a single gap. After the passageway closed, two figures quietly appeared behind the mountain rocks. They walked slowly to the place where the passageway used to be. They stared deeply. It was a man and a woman. The man was dressed in black. His long hair was loose, and he was tall and straight. But his face was a little strange. The left side of his face and the right side of his face were completely opposite. His left eyebrow was like a shocking sword that pierced straight up, while his right eyebrow was like a 1,000-foot waterfall that poured down in torrents. One of his eyes was like a full moon, while the other was like a crescent moon. In between his eyebrows, there was a flame-shaped birthmark. At this moment, it was actually shining brightly. The young girl beside him had a strong and graceful figure. Her face was full of heroic spirit. At this moment, the young girl turned to look at the man. She asked, "Why don't you show yourself and meet him?" The man's eyes were deep like a deep pool. He looked at the place where Chu Yang disappeared and said softly, "I don't know either. The current me. Who is it?" The young girl sighed. "Ever since you sensed it, you rushed over from 30,000 miles away. But you just looked at the back. Didn't you want to ask your master?" "You." The man's long hair moved without wind. He forced a smile and said in a low voice, "When I completely merge, I will meet them. But now, I'm afraid I will hurt them. I don't have the confidence to control myself. So I'd rather not meet them." He stood quietly for a while and turned to ask the young girl, "Do you want to go to your house to take a look? If you want to go, I will send you back." "Okay, let's go." The man held the young girl and turned to leave. After walking a few steps, he stopped again, as if he wanted to look back. But in the end he didn't. With a long roar, the two soared into the sky and disappeared into the distance like lightning. In the future, thunder will shake, and the demon lord will ascend to the heavens. As Chu Yang sped through the passageway, he thought, who is that person in the dark? To be able to hide from my divine sense? There aren't many people like that in the upper three heavens. Suddenly, he thought of a possibility. Chu Yang's body shook, and he immediately stopped. Could it be Tan? At this moment, Chu Yang wanted to go back. But as he walked past, the passageway behind him had completely collapsed and was blocked. Chu Yang sighed and flew forward. He gritted his teeth. If I find out in the future that today is really that small, I will definitely beat him to death. Upper three heavens, wind thunder platform. A few days ago, there was an earth-shattering commotion at the wind thunder platform. The mountains shook and several nearby mountains even caused avalanches. Such a huge commotion naturally attracted attention. Then the Li clan, which was the closest to this place, immediately sent people to investigate. But they discovered that the wind thunder platform's ancient wonder, that strange stone pillar that had stood upright for 100,000 years, had actually been chopped off by someone. When this news got back, the entire Li clan was furious. Who was so bored to come to this world of ice and snow to chop stones for fun? This wind thunder platform had been a strange sight here for 100,000 years. If we didn't want it to exist, wouldn't we have chopped it off countless times? Looking at the scene, it was obviously intentional destruction. Such a tall stone was actually chopped off section by section starting from the top. A stone pillar that was more than 10,000 feet tall. It was actually chopped into more than 10,000 pieces. Every piece was about the same size, and the cut was very neat. How bored must one be to do such an extremely painful thing? Now that the stone pillar had fallen, the wind thunder platform also disappeared. The Li clan was furious. The wind thunder platform's existence wasn't as simple as a natural wonder, because every year, when the lightning was at its weakest, there would still be people from the Li clan who would come here to train their spirit. With the help of this mighty power of heaven and earth, they would stimulate and solidify their spirit. And now, this place of training was gone just like that. In their fury, the Li clan sent out several teams of experts, each led by a supreme martial artist, to investigate this matter. After a round of on-site investigation and deduction, the Li clan came to this conclusion. Firstly, this person was definitely an expert. Secondly, this person must have thought that there must be treasures here with the continuous lightning and thunder. But looking at the situation, it was obvious that the person had chopped all the way to the very bottom and hadn't found anything. Because if he had, he definitely wouldn't have chopped so much. Chapter 1236. Everyone understood. If they put themselves in his shoes, they would definitely feel indignant if they didn't manage to find anything after spending so much effort. Therefore, he would definitely come again. Therefore, many people from the Li clan were lying in ambush on both sides of the wind thunder platform, waiting for him. All of them were filled with rage. As long as you dare to come, I'll skin you alive. There's treasure. If there's really a treasure, you won't have a chance. But now, the Li clan had already been waiting in this freezing wind thunder platform for close to 3 months, and there was still no movement. Everyone was already slacking off. Could it be that the person wasn't coming? Or did they discover our movements and flee? If that was the case, it would really be as difficult as ascending to heaven to find such a person in the vast heavens. Li Donghai, a 4th-grade supreme martial artist, was the person in charge of this operation. At this moment, he looked up at the dense snowflakes in the sky, his expression somewhat worried. The 5 white-robed elders beside him were the main force of this operation, 5 supreme martial artists. They were also Li Donghai's brothers. Brother Dong, in my opinion, that person must have received the news and won't come again, Li Nanshan said. The few people beside him agreed. Indeed, the feeling here was definitely not good. Even supreme martial artists had to circulate their energy to resist the cold. And in order not to alert the enemy, they weren't even allowed to warm themselves by the fire these few days. Wasn't this just torturing them? I didn't consider these, Li Donghai said softly. The wind thunder platform has been here for 100,000 years. He's definitely not the only one who suspects that there's a treasure hidden under the Wind Thunder platform. Even our Li clan had such suspicions back then. Li Donghai said deeply. We even sent people to investigate back then. We also thought of digging up this Wind Thunder platform to see what exactly is there. What was the result? Li Beixing was excited. Yes, the result was that the ancestor was injured by the wind and thunder when he went down to an unknown depth. Li Donghai said worriedly. Later on, we specially found a powerful person from the Zhuge clan to investigate. It was only then that they confirmed that this is a place where the universe is overturned, and the power of the wind and thunder comes from the heavens. Then the two peaks here reflected each other, neither giving way to the other. That's why such a situation happened. It's not some heavenly treasure. However, at that time, Senior Zhuge Songqiong had also said that, as long as there was still the power of wind and thunder, this wind thunder platform was indestructible. Not even a supreme martial artist can do it. This matter has always been our family's biggest secret, Li Donghai said solemnly. But now, the wind thunder platform is gone. Everyone was stunned. Li Donghai took a deep breath, and a few snowflakes flew into his mouth. He said worriedly, this person, to destroy the wind thunder platform directly with a sword. Then, how high is this person's cultivation? Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Even the primogenitor had been injured. But this person had dug out the wind thunder platform? If that's the case, what's the point of the family sending us here? Li Nanshan said. Although this is a secret, the patriarch and the elders should know about it. If I'm not wrong, we are the first batch out in the open. As for the dark, there will definitely be experts from the clan lying in ambush, Li Donghai said. So no matter what we do, the clan has the confidence to clean up the mess. Moreover, although the family appeared to be furious, they were still very angry. But in reality I have my misgivings. I don't want to become his mortal enemy. Li Donghai lowered his voice. It's fine if that person doesn't come. But once he comes, let's talk and do things, but don't go too far. If we become sacrifices for benefits, that would be too unjust. Sacrifices for benefits. The other 5 were dumbfounded, and their faces turned pale. Thinking about it carefully, this was really very possible. Think about it. The person who came was unrivaled. They rushed up in anger and offended him. At this moment, someone from the clan suddenly appeared and punished them severely. Then they apologized to the other party and asked to become friends. What kind of honor was this? I even punished this supreme martial artist for you. You're still not giving me face. This was not the first time the Li clan had done something like this. Especially now that the situation was precarious. The other 8 super clans all saw the Li clan as enemies. They needed strong reinforcements even more. So, in the end, they would probably be the unlucky ones. Then we still have to make some adjustments. What if? The other 5 instantly turned from anger to calmness. But, before they could finish their sentence, a huge change suddenly happened at this moment. All was quiet. Suddenly, a thunderous sound came from midair. Even the supreme martial artist was shaken by this loud sound, and his entire body trembled, and he almost fell to the ground. Not knowing what was going on, everyone looked up. They saw that the dark clouds that had not dissipated for 100,000 years suddenly parted, in all directions at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the blink of an eye, the dark clouds that had accumulated for 100,000 years in the sky above the snowfield actually dissipated completely. The entire clear sky was revealed. A red sun shone above them. Thousands of miles of mountains and rivers instantly shone with golden light. The sun! Someone exclaimed in surprise. There's a sun in the northwest too. Oh my God! At the same time, the world was in an uproar. Especially the 3 regions in the northwest, northeast and true north. They were in jubilation. For too many people, this was the first time in their lives that they saw the sun and enjoyed the warmth of the sun. Countless people knelt on the ground and thanked the heavens. However, the pupils of this supreme martial artist on the Wind Thunder platform shrank at the same time. The sun had not appeared for 100,000 years, but it appeared today. Why was this? And looking at the range, how was it just the northwest? It was obvious that the whole world was illuminated by the sun. The sun was so bright that a layer of white fog appeared on the snowy ground. The entire forest and the thousands of mountains and valleys turned into a dreamlike scenery at the same time. It was like a celestial palace in the sky, surrounded by clouds and mist. All of a sudden, a white light whizzed down from the sky. As it grew bigger and bigger, it suddenly split into two and shot down in all directions. As it flew, the white light suddenly became thicker and thicker, and slowly changed color, gradually turning into a rainbow. The rainbows were enormous. Every single one of them was at least a few dozen zhang thick. It connected the sky and the earth, still and unmoving. All of a sudden, the world was filled with a myriad of colors. The white light in the middle of the rainbow slowly emitted a gentle glow, rolling up and down. The next moment, the wind howled, thunder and lightning flashed, followed by thunder and lightning. Everyone was shocked at the same time. If the sky was cloudy, it was still understandable. But now, it was sunny in a radius of millions of miles. Wind and thunder actually gathered together? This was too ridiculous. A ray of light came from somewhere underground, approaching the wind and thunder in the sky at lightning speed. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared into the white light in the center. As if it connected the sky and the earth, it showed a colorful glow, splendid and brilliant beyond compare. And then it stretched across the sky. The rainbow that crossed the distance between the sky and the earth suddenly rolled and gathered into a ball in the sky, and then separated. 8 big words appeared in the sky. The fifth part of the tribulation, the ruler of the martial world. As if an ancient deity had suddenly descended to the world, ruling over the world. The supreme martial artist leading the Li clan team was stunned for a moment. Then he suddenly exclaimed, "Tribulation phenomenon. Oh my God." At this moment the whole world shook. Everyone in the world, no matter where they were, saw these 8 big words. Lower 3 heavens. On the way back from the south, Tai Butian looked at the sky affectionately. Looking at these 8 big words, a trace of heartfelt sweetness appeared in her eyes. He had gone back, and he had successfully obtained the 5th part of the tribulation sword. According to him, once he obtained the 5th part, he would be able to pass through the heavens. When that time comes, should I go up and take a look? The emperor was feeling sweet and conflicted 3 days. Gu Duxing and the other brothers looked up. They looked at the sky for a long time, all of them silent. However, every single one of their hearts was boiling hot. Boss had gone back. Furthermore, it was done in such an earth-shattering manner. The headquarters of the law enforcement officers. The Dharma Supreme looked at the sky for a long time. He didn't speak for a long time. Only when the rainbow in the sky started to weaken did the Dharma Supreme let out a long sigh. Miscalculation. It turns out that the sword master of the tribulation sword had long been hiding in the upper 3 heavens. Then a cold light flashed in his eyes, and he ordered indifferently, "Investigate thoroughly." These 2 words were said with an unusually heavy tone. In the shadows behind him, a respectful voice sounded. Yes. The Dharma Supreme stood with his hands behind his back, not moving for a long time. He was thinking in his heart, since after that, my strength has improved instead. That thing is indeed good stuff. I didn't expect there to be so much left. Ever since I started to nourish the heavens, I haven't used it, and it's all been taken advantage of. Yes, Chu Yang's part was taken away. Who exactly took it away? If he obtained that piece, his strength would probably surpass Wu Jueqing's. As for this tribulation sword master, since you have appeared in the upper 3 heavens, this is the day I have been waiting for. Everyone in the big clans was also shocked. The 5th part of the tribulation sword, the ruler of the martial world. And the tremors this time were bigger than those in the past, more obvious and lasting. This proved that the tribulation sword master had obtained the 5th part of the tribulation sword in the upper 3 heavens. The tribulation sword master had been in the upper 3 heavens for a long time. The big clans issued an order at the same time. Investigate thoroughly. In a faraway place, countless strange people looked up at the sky at the same time, their eyes full of eagerness. The tribulation sword master had already obtained the 5th part. When he obtained the 5th part and passed through the heavens, our king would be able to reunite with us. We have been in hiding for tens of thousands of years. No one knew that when the strange phenomenon suddenly appeared in the sky, Chu Yang was speeding underground. Right now, he was already close to the wind-thunder platform. Along the way, especially after entering the upper three heavens, Chu Yang felt a huge difference. When he saw that he was at most a few dozen miles away from reaching the wind-thunder platform, Chu Yang suddenly felt wind and thunder gathering in his meridians. The heavenly heart of wind and thunder suddenly moved. Immediately, a rainbow-colored fog appeared in this tunnel like a dream, as if an entire rainbow had poured into the tunnel. Fourth update. G. On behalf of all the brothers and sisters in Pride, Feng Ling prays for my brother. Brother Scholar who gets drunk at night from the Pride VIP group is suffering from cancer. He will undergo surgery on the 13th of this month. Praying for my brother to overcome his illness and recover soon. On the day the surgery is successful, I will congratulate my brother with an outburst. I firmly believe that the surgery will be a success. My brother will definitely be healthy. Everyone is waiting for you. Chapter 1237. Chu Yang was confused for a moment. What's going on? Just as he was confused, the seven-colored fog in the passageway became thicker and thicker. Finally, he couldn't see his fingers clearly. He tried to take a breath, and instantly he felt comfortable all over. The heavenly core of wind and thunder shuttled back and forth in his body, and finally separated into two sides. The wind jade occupied the left side of Chu Yang's body, while the thunder jade occupied the right side of Chu Yang's body. Both sides were ready for battle. The moment the two pieces of jade stopped moving, the endless colorful fog in the passageway suddenly rushed into Chu Yang's body with a whoosh. Wave after wave like a vast and mighty river, surging over. Chu Yang was pleasantly surprised. This seven-colored fog could actually strengthen one's vital energy, and the effect was very obvious. As he walked slowly, he absorbed the seven-colored fog. Wherever he passed, there was nothing but emptiness. The seven-colored mist vanished into nothingness. Only the front of him was still densely packed. Chu Yang was just curious. Why wasn't there such a magical thing when he passed by last time? This is the real benefit of the Tribulation Sword Master. The Sword Spirit's voice sounded as if he had just woken up from a dream. Do you think that you got the fifth fragment of the Tribulation Sword just to let you take a 3-month break to see your lover and brothers? You're awake? Chu Yang was delighted. I'm already back. Why wouldn't I be awake? The Sword Spirit also smiled. At this moment, Chu Yang faintly heard the huge sound of thunder and lightning from above. He couldn't help but ask, a vision of heaven and earth? The Sword Spirit said, that's right. Every fragment of the Tribulation Sword will be accompanied by a different vision of heaven and earth. The vision of heaven and earth will bring some magical things to benefit the Tribulation Sword Master. And this time, the power of wind and thunder is used to bring down the seven-colored rainbow from outside the clouds to increase the Tribulation Sword Master's foundation and power. I see. Chu Yang pondered for a while. Since there's such a big movement, there must be a lot of people outside. It seems that I can't go out the same way. You have to go out. There's only one way. The Sword Spirit said. I see. Chu Yang muttered to himself for a while. Then he opened his mind and said, I'll get my benefits first. As for how I'm going to get out, what's the point of thinking about that if I don't go out now? The Sword Spirit was stunned. He saw Minister Chu operate the heaven-splitting divine power with all his might. Then the seven-colored fog started to gather around Chu Yang with a whooshing sound. It rushed into Chu Yang's meridians. The circulation of Chu Yang's martial technique became faster and faster. He even had time to talk to the Sword Spirit. Sword Spirit. This kung fu is very strange. When I first started practicing it, the speed is very slow, and it takes at least 2 incense sticks to burn to complete one cycle. But now I can complete 2 cycles in one breath. The Sword Spirit was silent for a long time. Then he said, I don't understand this martial art, but if you can circulate 10,000 times in a breath, it should be enough. Go to hell. Chu Yang was exasperated. 10,000 cycles in one breath? My body had long since exploded. What kind of meridians can withstand such speed? As far as I know, My master can circulate 1,000 cycles of the divine technique in a single breath. In an instant, a full-force palm strike is enough to destroy the entire heaven layer world. The sword spirit said slowly. Chu Yang was silent. After a long time, he said in a low voice, "So there really is no end. 1,000 cycles in a single breath." Chu Yang was greatly provoked by this sentence. He circulated his martial technique with all his might. Along with the whooshing sound, the seven-colored fog gathered in Chu Yang's body like rivers converging into the sea. When Chu Yang had walked a few hundred steps, he actually felt that the circulation speed of his martial technique seemed to be slightly faster. He couldn't help but feel happy. This happiness didn't matter. The circulation of his vital energy returned to its original state. Still not making me happy? Chu Yang was a little startled. All right, I won't be happy with external gains, and I won't be sad with personal gains. I will face a pie falling from the sky with a normal heart. After an unknown amount of time, Chu Yang gradually felt that the seven-colored fog in the passageway was gradually decreasing. Finally, it became thinner. He tried to look at his dantian. He couldn't help but cry out in surprise. Sword spirit, look. The purple energy in my dantian has increased by a little. Really? The sword spirit was shocked. He hurriedly looked and couldn't help but twitch his mouth. This is considered an additional one. At best, I can only say that. It's completely replenished by the first one. Chu Yang said angrily, look carefully. Next to the first one, there's another thin one. How can that be considered one? The sword spirit said disdainfully. For example, next to the bristles on a pig's neck, there's an additional sheep's fluff. Chu Yang was so shocked that he was charred on the outside and tender on the inside. He grimaced. Damn you, you really know how to make an analogy. If it's fluff, then it's fluff. What sheep's fluff? He took a few more steps forward. Suddenly, he felt the vital energy in his dantian shake violently. It was noisy, turbulent, and surging endlessly. Chu Yang seemed to feel that his dantian had swelled up, almost to the point of bursting. But when he looked at it, there was nothing unusual on the outside. At the same time, a mysterious feeling suddenly surged in his heart. Chu Yang was shocked. Sword spirit, I'm about to break through. Breaking through, this is normal. The sword spirit laughed. You were already on the verge of breaking through. After absorbing the power of the rainbow, it would be strange if you didn't break through. As he spoke, Chu Yang felt more and more uncomfortable. Finally, he stopped walking forward and sat down cross-legged on the ground. He took a deep breath and began to guide his vital energy back. He tried his best to suppress the restlessness in his heart. At the steadiest speed, he guided the vital energy out of his dantian into his meridians and began to break through the bottleneck of first-grade supreme martial artist. This was a brand new meridian route. Before his strength reached that level, Chu Yang didn't even know that there was such a meridian route in the human body. But just now, when the conditions were right, it suddenly appeared on its own. The surging vital energy pierced in like a needle. Everywhere it passed, there was a tearing pain. Chu Yang endured it calmly. This feeling was like the tearing pain during childbirth. It was extremely painful, but it was also filled with the joy of a new life. Chu Yang had an inexplicable feeling. The supreme martial artist level was just the beginning. If he told others about this feeling, he would definitely be attacked by all the martial artists in the world. What the hell? The supreme martial artist level was just the beginning. Then how many people in this world had started before? The vital energy penetrated in like a hot knife through butter and gradually filled up. It slowly pushed forward to a solid barrier and then stopped here. The vital energy behind was still rushing in like a tide. Chu Yang took a breath and withdrew all his vital energy back to his dantian. Then, he circulated his energy again and gathered all his strength to charge forward fiercely. The tsunami-like power charged forward again after retreating, as if it was a decisive battle. He charged forward fiercely. Not good. The sword spirit was about to stop him, but it was too late. Minister Chu's cross-legged body jumped up like a toad. In midair, blood spurted out of his 7 orifices. Then, he fell down and lay flat on the ground, his legs twitching, trying to break through to the supreme martial artist level. How can you charge forward so violently without going through a period of nourishment. How can you be like this? The sword spirit complained. Chu Yang said weakly. Wasn't it always like this in the past? The sword spirit rolled his eyes and hurried to repair his meridians. After a long while, only then did Chu Yang start to try for the second time, the third time, the fourth time. After a long time, he still couldn't move it at all. Chu Yang was extremely depressed. He thought about it carefully. When he tried to attack again, he subconsciously used his inner vision. To his surprise, he discovered that after all his vital energy had been depleted, those 2 wisps of purple vital energy were still motionless in his dantian. Chu Yang let out a sound of surprise. Then, he circulated the heavenly lifting divine technique and carefully started to move these 2 primordial real silk. However, after a long time, he could only move the one that was already in good condition. The other one was still motionless. Chu Yang had no other choice but to drive it into his meridians in a wobbly manner. Then he proceeded towards the barrier. Looking at how weak this primordial real silk was, Chu Yang also seriously lost his confidence. After this primordial real silk entered the newly opened route that day, it actually felt like it was walking with its head held high as it traveled through the vast and mighty vital energy. Then it reached the first-grade Supreme Martial Artist barrier and charged over just like that. Chu Yang sighed. Looks like it's hopeless. But, just as he said it was hopeless, the next moment, a miracle appeared. That incomparably sturdy Supreme Martial Artist barrier. That barrier that Chu Yang used all his strength to attack dozens of times, but still didn't move. Actually, under the charge of this primordial real silk, it charged straight in. Chu Yang was dumbfounded. Without waiting for him to circulate his energy, the primordial qi that had been accumulating here and had no way of entering automatically surged over and squeezed into this thin gap. Then with a boom, the barrier opened and Chu Yang's vital energy rushed in. In an instant, this meridian was connected in all directions. At once, Chu Yang felt as if his whole body was floating. At the same time, a confused aura of the great Tao suddenly appeared in his heart. All of a sudden, Chu Yang became as clear-headed as ice and snow. After the primordial real silk succeeded, it automatically wanted to return to his dantian. But Chu Yang already knew how powerful the primordial real silk was. How could he let it run back to rest? He forced it to move continuously in his meridians with a torrential current. The sword spirit constantly filled Chu Yang's meridians with the power of elixirs and turned it into the energy of heaven and earth. The team continued to expand. After a long while, Chu Yang sighed and stood up. Sword Supremacy First Grade Elementary. He truly realized the terror of a supreme martial artist. With such a vast amount of vital energy, after breaking through to first grade supreme martial artist, it only barely stabilized at the elementary level. It wasn't even at the level of a supreme martial artist. You should be content. The sword spirit rolled his eyes. Who doesn't spend many years trying to break through to this level? Some even spend thousands of years. You broke through in just 2 hours. And you're still complaining. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.